Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Barbados. Good evening, Caribbean. Good evening, the world. How is everybody doing this evening? I am so thrilled to be on with you. I am excited. I have been waiting. I sat down here, created the show, and I'm just watching the clock to get on. How about you? I could see that people have been on from really, really early. There's Vernon Garnes who was on from 5:29 and he was waiting for the show for 7 o'clock. Let me tell you something. Listen, Vernon, you couldn't be more excited than I have been. I tell you, I'm waiting for the show to be on tonight. We are excited to be on. Tonight is going to be a great night because there's so many things that's happening that we have to discuss here on the Marcia Week show, where we motivate, we educate, we agitate, we mobilize Africa and the African diaspora. And Barbados is part of the African diaspora, right? So we are carrying out our duty. We're doing what we have to do, right, Mystic Angel? Yes, we are doing what we have to do, and it is a pleasure serving you. It really is a pleasure serving you. It is a joy to serve you, Barbados. The encouragement that I'm getting when I'm on the streets from everybody, if I go to the supermarket, and not just me, but everybody on the panel, the what we're hearing from everybody, the encouragement, it's just tremendous. And we want to say thank you for, we reach out to hold your hand, and you reach out to hold our hand, and we are so happy about that. Thank you so much for what you do as well to make this show a success. Thank you, Mystic Angels. Thank you, Just in Time. Junie Rock, thank you for liking and sharing the show and subscribing. That bell there, click the bell, please. Cecilia Miller, good evening. Erwin Nurse, good evening. How are you? How are you? Dighton Brathwaite, can't have the show without you, Dighton. If you're not here, we can't have it. And listen, why you all don't stop blowing up my phone? Listen, you make the show because you keep sending me all the topics. Everything that I need to talk on, you are the one sending it to me. So you make this show and we do it together, Barbados. And indeed, it is a pleasure. It is a pleasure serving the people of Barbados, serving you guys. It is a pleasure. I look forward to each night. Born again, good evening. CG, oh, CG, thank you. And I must always mention you because you carry so much of the Barbadian spirit, CG. And CG's always there doing all of her placards. You're going to see her handiwork on Saturday. She does that and comes up with these great ideas. I don't know where she get these ideas from, but she's amazing. Patrick Green, thank you. Queen Bee, how are you? Yes, good evening, loyal opposition. I've liked and shared, and that's what we do. Everybody who's on, come on, guys. This is a time where you like and you share. You like and you share. This is a time that you like and you share. All right. Um, uh, FX Trading, good evening. Marcia, good evening. Romeo Hinkson, how you doing, my brother? Good evening. Victoria's Queen, Victory. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Captain, good evening. Oh, my Lord. Tyra Nurse, how are you doing, my brother? James Harding. Listen, how are you, Sir Alfred, all the way from Brooklyn, NYC? Good evening. Good evening. It's a pleasure serving you, Sir Alfred, from right here in Barbados. The panelists, all of us, it's a pleasure serving you, coming on each night, and we share with each other, and we learn from each other, and it is a pleasure serving the people of Barbados. It really is, because there was a time, I used to say, I'm not sure if they're going to reach back out, but the people are. And they are in so many ways. They're helping each other. And I'm going to tell you how that they're doing that. Ramim, good evening. And Mashio. Yes. Mashio and Lucinda. Yes, yes. And Rameem, how are you doing, Rameem? Good, loyal, patriotic opposition. Fall in line. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. We must see for them, educate and inform. Yes, and that's what we do. Fabian, good evening. Hasbro, good evening. Marcia, good evening. Emerson Bab, good evening. Ryan Rock, how are you? Michael Gibbs, my brother. Rosemary Lane. Hey, Rosemary, I don't think I've seen you in a long time. Llewellyn Eiffel, how are you? How are you feeling? I trust all is well with you now. Will we see you on Saturday? I hope so. Sandra Brewster, good evening. Judith Ann Clark, how are you, Judith? Oh wow, we're gonna have the van for you, Judith, to make sure that you can get up in that van and you can get down the road with us. Judith, God bless you and for what you do for speaking out. May God bless you. Beverly Prescott, good evening. Teroni Hall, how are you? Teroni Jeffrey Sobers. Listen, Jeffrey and Tyrone and George Cirlo, it is a pleasure serving you. It is a pleasure. It is a pleasure. It doesn't feel like a chore at all. It is a pleasure serving you, being part of, this family, this Marcia Week Show family. It's a pleasure. Joel, Judy Gills, Nigel Carrington, how are you? Nigel Newton, I think we might see Nigel Newton on Friday. Nigel, you're going to come on and share some truths with us. Peace, blessings, and the wisdom of the cosmos be upon this patriotic people's opposition. Clive Osborne, how are you? Wendy Ford Griffith, simply patriotic. How are you doing? Natasha Wilson, oh my lord, it's good to see you, my dear. Lemuel Tall, Lemuel Tall, serious, serious. You see that picture, serious? He watches comments. He don't joke. Lemuel don't joke. Lemuel is a man on a mission. Marcy, hey, good evening, Marcy. Edwin Price, man, the man. Listen, Edwin, make sure you have prayer lyrics on the truck. You got the words of the people. You ready, Edwin? Yes, yes, yes. Sanchez, James Gibbs, Diana Husbands, Kern Williams. Hey, Kern Williams. Interesting name. Angela Chapman, good evening. Noel, is this the same Noel? Noel, you got to message me and let me know if I can say what you did so far. Noel, if I can say it, send me the WhatsApp and let me know if I can tell the people what you've done. Fillmore Warner, Owen Hines, yes, Kingman. Oh, good evening. Kerry, hey Kerry, how you doing, girl? Okay, Noel says yes, I can say. Now, this is what I love about the Marcia Week Show. I tell you, I love the fact that I love the fact that when we come on here, it's not just talk. So we had a mother come on, and she had a lot of us in tears or near tears, speaking about her son and at the prison and her son is experiencing at Her Majesty's prison and here in Barbados and the horrible conditions and how he has been diagnosed with cancer and they wouldn't even let him go out to get his treatment and so on. And what Noel contacted Amnesty International and has written to Amnesty International. And he sent me the email tonight. I saw it, Noel, just before I was getting my computer set up to come on the show. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to read it. But I saw your email came in. And I love that. I love that we're action people. We're action people. And what you don't see, it's the people who call in the daytime, the people who message that 236-7000. Listen, I'm just gonna give you all that phone and get something new for myself, for my personal phone, because Barbados has that. That's your all phone, and the way you respond to each other. That is the Barbadian spirit. And I just want to give God thanks for that. Well, let's go right into our national anthem at this time. We are going to play the national anthem. And while you do that, while we're getting that up and running, we're going to ask you kindly to share. All right, share, 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 like and share, like and share. Yes, 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 Barbados. I just let me just say I don't have my flag because every time, anytime I move my flag, I think I took it to the last event that we had. That I have a problem finding my flag. But I promise I love to have, I love to have my flag. But it's really, really that anthem is so beautiful, and it is our theme song. It's the theme, the banner under which we operate, and we just want to say that we love it. We love it. We love it. We love it. It is our theme song indeed. I want to say to us here, the loyal opposition, that when we started this journey, nobody was taking us seriously. Yes, there were people who said we're wasting our time. In fact, it was said by people, some of those in government, that the prime minister said, you know what, they could go ahead and they'll get exercise. That's what was said when we started our marching, when we started, really making our voices heard. They people laughed at us, they joked, they made fun of us. But now, someone said something to me today and said, but look, right now, the voices of the opposition, the voices of the people, your voices are being heard in parliament. Listen, they make mention of you in parliament. They do. The same people the same people who are laughing at us, they make mention of us in parliament. We are mentioned in the Senate. We are mentioned in newspapers. We are mentioned in on calling programs and on radio and in the news, and whether the news is on the radio or on the television. Listen, we're mentioned in barber shops. We're mentioned in hairdressing salons. We're mentioned in the supermarket. We're mentioned at the where the men are playing the dominoes, sitting under the tree. We're spoken about at the bus stand and in the bus shed, and when you're in the bus. Do you realize that? Do you realize what has happened? That yes, this is a group that they call the ragtag and all the different names that they called us. And now this is a group that they fear. You know who we are? We're Barbadians. We're Barbadians from every walk of life, every area of life, every sphere of life, in the hills and or the heights, as you say, and the terraces, all over. That's who we are. And we are lifting our voices, and our voices are being heard. People, their bills that they've had to take back, they have to take them back because you said so. Do you realize how powerful that is? Because you opened your mouth and you said something. They're, I tell you now, because they know we exist, they're going to cross all the T's and dot the I's. They are nervous about this Cricket World Cup because they can't afford to mess up, because we're going to talk about it and we're going to hold them accountable. You know that. You know that they're nervous. They are so nervous about you. And that's what we have been saying. That we employ them. We put them there. And they understand. Let me tell you something. They very well understand that we can remove them. You know that? They do. Don't let anybody fool you and let them believe that they're not thinking about us. They go to bed thinking about us. Who is the us? The people of Barbados. The people of Barbados. We found our voice. We found our power. We found our strength. And that is what is going to happen on Saturday. On Saturday, I got notice from the police. I haven't had it in my hand yet, but they said you're going to get that permit. Yes, we're going to start a little further down. We're going to start at REDMAN Drive, right there where, the Pan American building is right there at the, where the lights are. Yes. And we're going to be there. And just a little further down, because when we normally walk from Kensington, we warm up till we get to that spot. That's true, right? It's what after we get to that spot, then we really start to see people. Before that, we will see people in cars, but now we start to see people on the roadside. Yes, so it's a wonderful spot. We're going to start there. So don't go up to Kensington. Yes, don't go to Kensington Mall. Yes, don't go up to Kensington Mall. We are going to be at REDMAN Drive right there. There's a Rubis. Rubis is on one side, and there's a car dealership on the other side. And then there is the Pan American insurance building in close vicinity there. The lights are there, okay? Yes? So listen to me, guys. Make sure we're out. We will have enough tourists. You believe me? Lots of tourists going to be there. We will have an audience. Yes. Come out in your numbers, Barbados. They are listening. They are listening. They're taking note and they are worried. They are so worried. They go to sleep worrying about the show and worrying about the Barbadian people. Are they going to sway against us? Are they going to drive us out? And I'm hoping you do, Barbados. I really am hoping that you get rid of this set. I'm really hoping so. I'm really hoping so. So guys, please, 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 it's on Saturday. Anywhere you see, anywhere that you see the flyer, share it. Bring somebody with you to the march. When was the last time you came to the march with a friend? Where's your family at the when you come to the march? The children can come. You're telling them you're marching concerning the cybercrime bill so that they will have free speech in this country. It's about them, so let them come. Invite them to come. Bring the teenagers with you, bring the children, bring the family, with you. You can push a baby in a stroller. It's important. They say, Mommy and Daddy, what is going on? He said, well, we are standing up for freedom of speech and freedom of expression in Barbados. Yeah? Good, 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 good. It is happening. Yes, 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 yes. Now, folks, let me see. There's something else that I want to tell you all, and I'm looking for it here. But and tonight we have with us Mr. Glenn Murray is going to be on tonight. We have an exciting show for you tonight. Mr. Kazil Franklin is going to be on. Come on, yay! Let's cheer them on. Is going to be on. We're going to hopefully. We're also going to have Lumumba Batson is going to be on, and he is going to tell us his story of rehabilitation and how important that is for any young man who finds himself in trouble. He's going to come on and talk about that because we're going to continue to deal with the prison situation, but from a different standpoint, right? And then guess what? In Guyana, did you all hear that in the news? In Guyana, guess what has happened? There is a talk show host in Guyana who is also an executive of one of the opposing political parties. The cybercrime bill got him. The cybercrime bill of Guyana has that man in jail tonight in Guyana. You heard what I just said? The cybercrime bill of Guyana has just locked up a talk show host like myself. He's also an executive in one of the opposing parties. Do you see what we're talking to when we talk about the cybercrime bill, what we really are talking about? Do you see? And of all of Guyana, that's the man that they locked up. He went into jail on Tuesday. All right. But let's welcome Mr. Murray, because we're going to talk about that a little bit more. And of course, the census. You heard that propaganda of a census that was done. How they reported it, how the media reported it, the spin that they put on it. Quite interesting, isn't it? Well, let's welcome Mr. Murray. Welcome, Mr. Murray.
Good night, Marcy, and good night to all your viewers and listeners and followers. It's a pleasure to be with you once again. I hope we're in good for a good time tonight.
Yes, we are, and I'm looking forward to your session, sir. Very
Right.
much so.
If you might as you know, I'm the senior member of the party of the panel of the
Yes, you
show.
are. Yes, you
Right.
are.
And I think that's an honor and distinction which I regard with great pride because it gives me an opportunity to expose my vast experience in various
And let's
spheres.
tell the people how young you are.
You tell them,
Mr.
I'm
Murray,
too modest
Mr.
to say.
Murray, and it's an honor to be sharing this same space with this man. Okay, Mr. Murray is 80 years old, and he has served under 2 prime ministers in this country. And for me, it is an honor to have him here, and that's why I always have him to kick off the show. So over to you, Mr. Murray.
Thank you for that introduction. But my experience in politics goes beyond that. It goes back to 1951 and the right to vote. My first political meeting in front of Grace's School in Spooners Hill, where I saw Grant Adams speaking. This is when we were in the throes of universal adult suffrage. So
Yeah,
from then on, I was hooked on politics and interested in politics. As a
yeah.
matter of fact, I have had since then an interaction of one kind or another with all the 10 leaders that Barbados has had. Grant
Hmm.
Adams, Dr. Cummins, Mr. Barrow, like right down the line of one kind or another. And I've observed them, I've written about them. I was in journalism, and
Hmm.
I try to use that experience to try to evaluate not only evaluate their performance, not only what they say, but what they do, and try to get behind the meaning of what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think having had that experience, one of the regrets I have in political and social life of Barbados is that we have not over the years accumulated a body of work on our leaders. They have not. None of them has written an autobiography. So, and some people have attempted biographies, etc. Nobody's written a memoir. So, what we depend on are their speeches, their interviews, their speeches in Parliament or official functions. But we do not really get to know how and what and why they took the decisions they did, etc. That is missing. That is missing in our thing. But in order to understand the importance of these of memoirs, biographies, and autobiographies, I'd like you to and I'm going to put it in the context of the topic of tonight's show, open the cheap sign of insecurity.
Mm.
And I say that because ever since 1951, that's my landmark, my jumping off point. Barbados had until now had learned to be accustomed of having projects, policies, programs presented to them, and they use the intelligence, the information, their education to evaluate them on the basis of their merit, what they present, what they offer, their strength, their benefits, etc. So I'm not accustomed to you have to resort to a gimmick like tonight at Kensington Oval this afternoon to try to convince people that the Kensington Oval development or the money spent is the best thing that ever happened to Barbados, or it's a good thing for Barbados. I think that's something that could have happened on its own merits. And in order to do that, we have to understand the personalities we're dealing with and what drives them. So if you can show me slide number 1, which tells you what is a memoir. That's a quick lesson so that people get the context. When they use definitions, they're able to follow and put in the context of the definition. So if you can read it for me, because
it's a memoir is a record of events written by a person having intimate knowledge of them and based on personal observation.
Right. So that is a memoir. And you get the insight into the person because they have written it themselves. You get to know what motivated them, what drove them, and how they handled crises and stresses and whatnot, and not just what you read in the paper, and not background into what might have happened. So let's go to slide number 2 then. It talks about no, sorry, I'm not ready for that yet. Sorry about that. So I'm saying that when people write memoirs, etc., there's a memoir. Slide number 1. Slide number.
You want to go back to memoir?
No, I'm not saying memoir. I think I got my notes a little mixed up here. That slide number 1. Slide number 1 was memoir. Was it not? Or biography?
Yes, was memoir. Slide number 1 is memoir, and then slide number 2 is it's psychobiography, or that's 3.
Biography.
Yeah, I don't think we have it, so you might just have to tell us what it is. I don't think we have that
one. I said the slide it's a biography and autobiography. So we had a memoir where somebody writes about themselves. A biography where somebody an outsider writes about a person, an officer, a political figure, a personality, an entertainer. So that's the biography. But an autobiography is when written by a person themselves. Say, I did it. It's written in IV, etc. So that's a distinction. So it's a memoir, a biography, and an autobiography. But then there's another area called psychobiography. Remember, we are talking where the other things do not normally give you an insight into how the person performed. A psychobiography. You know what a psychobiography means? Slide number 3, please.
Yes, it aims to understand historically significant individuals, such as artists or political leaders, through the application of psychological theory and research.
Right. So that gives you more the motivation, the personality, what drove them, what made them think. And I think that's a very important. That's an important development because um, it helps you to understand what what happened inside the person, not just what you see before the cameras and on stage. And at that stage, I like to point out that part of human behavior is you perform. There's a front stage behavior, as you would know, Marcia. You're the dramatist and the producer, etc. What you do on stage is your front stage behavior. Then there's a backstage behavior and off stage behavior. So when we have political fairs at political meetings or function speaking, that is their front stage behavior. That's when you
Mhm.
behave in a way where the public expects you to perform in a particular way, and you do that. But then when you go behind, you step off the stage, you are a different person because you're in a different context. You perform differently. So apart from that, my evaluation of the topic is also done on the basis not on not just my personal observations. It's not has nothing to do with my likes or dislike of any person that might be said. But I don't mean to be immodest, but I did some formal studies when I lived in Canada in the 60s, 70s in psychology, development psychology, social psychology, sociology, cultural anthropology. So it grabs the
Mhm.
gamut of human behavior. So that has allowed me, therefore, to put some insight into those persons, how they perform, and I was able to evaluate them in that context. But
Mhm.
like remember talking about front stage behavior, off stage behavior, backstage behavior.
Mhm.
That means that people present to you what they want you to see,
Yes.
and that does not always give you the true person. Now, if you could just and my following of this subject, this psycho psycho but psycho
Biography.
biography. There's also one called psychohistory, which delves behind the scenes again, deals with
Mm.
psychology, sociology, etc. But this one now, I'd come across many years ago a quotation from Maya Angelou,
Mhm.
and it says, if you can read it for me again, please.
It says, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time.
When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time because invariably your instincts take in and you have to make an evaluation of the person based on what you see and what you get. And there's a book called that I read some years ago called The Secret Life of the Mature Brain,
Mm.
in which it tells you that as you mature in life, you accumulate lots of experiences, you learn lots of lessons in dealing with situations and persons. And out of that gives you a body of information in your psyche
Yeah.
that how it tells you how to evaluate persons and situations. And that it warns you should not just see it as instinctive reaction or I didn't think it through. It usually is right because it said in a nanosecond you are able to make an evaluation of something which persons of much younger per age, lacking the experience, would not have been made. So my Angelo makes the point is that when somebody um, when you meet somebody, you and it shows you who they are, believe it, accept it. And I say that in the context then of the Prime Minister's presentation at Kensington Oval. Um, I see it as a reaction to the public outcry, the question, the challenges that were being made to the project. The $50 million, how it's being spent, where its emphasis, it is even outside of the $5 million in oyster, which people believe that it is being done as part of a campaign to help unseat Ralph Thorne. That is the popular perception. But that apart, the Council Oval meeting, that has nothing to do with the project. And
Mm.
when that was announced, it made me remember again experience in 1995 when the Prime Minister was Minister of Education and Culture, and she and Then in the 1995 Calypso competition, crop over, that was the year that Edwin Yearwood won his first pick of the crop, etc. titles.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some controversy over his song. There was a song called, there was one on Obadale, the Olympian medalist from Barbados, and then there's the other one called Voice in My Head. And there was controversy as to whether Voice in My Head was a true calypso, or
Yeah.
did it have enough calypso rhythm and that. So there was that controversy. And then all of a sudden, I remember there was this announcement that all of the schools in Paris were closed. The Prime Minister, the then Minister of Education announced that, or the Ministry of Education announced that schools will be closed for Barbados. The schools in Barbados will be closed for the day, and the students will all gather at the gymnasium to be exposed to Edwin Yearwood, who just won this competition. Um, and
Wow.
it was supposed to be it was supposed to lead into a reading thrust thereafter. But it was puzzling because neither of the songs dealt with reading or education or literacy. Okay, one was a philosophical song, "Boys in My Head." The other one was Obadiah Thompson's magnificent performance in the Olympics. So there was a public outcry at that, and then all of a sudden there was this summoning of school children, shut down the system for Barbados to be exposed to Edwin Yearwood, with no connection at all to education or whatever. As far as I recall, there was no educational trust. There was no reading program that came out of that activity. So therefore, that sent off a buzz in my head. I remember that, and I link it to the fact that when over the years I've observed the Prime Minister as a minister, I would have dealt with her, especially I would have dealt with her. I was a member of cabinet with her for almost 9 years, so I saw her in action as a cabinet, party meetings before that, and as a minister, and particularly since becoming prime minister, um, there's a tendency that if there is opposition or criticism, you do something to insert yourself in the discussion, uh, uh, to calm the situation, as though the prime minister expects that she's must always be popular, must always need to damp down some controversy is helpful because it helps you open the eyes about things you might have missed in your formulation of
Right.
policy in the program. That's a standard, and it gives other people input. But there's always, you remember COVID,
Mm-hmm.
when there were questions, there was always a press conference. She took us to the press conference. Um, there were, and there's always, if she goes away and she comes back, if she goes away and she comes back, there's a quality she
Yeah.
gets in to try to calm the waters, as though her strength of personality and her persuasiveness is superior to anybody else, and it would dissipate any objection, any critical thinking, any evaluation of it. So this is the part. This is what we see. This is what we see. This is what we see again at Kensington Oval today. And to me, it is unworthy. I've never seen any other political leader in Barbados do that, especially so systematically, step by step. Now, public opinion varies. It fluctuates depending on the issue. So it is impossible to have 100% or 90% or higher approval rating every day of the year for everything. It just
Mm-hmm.
is not. And it makes me, when I see these behaviors, when I see what happened at Kingston today, where, if you remember, the Prime Minister even went so far as to do a public service announcement to invite persons to join her there. And while the public service announcement talked about come and get a selfie and show up for posterity and show your friends, etc. The original announcement, when she spoke about the words were, and I have it written down: pass through, come through, and see how your money was spent. Pass through, come through, and see how your money was spent. Money, taxpayers' money, who would have to repay it? But that is what sent off the first alarm in my head. So, but then that was modified when the other, the personalized public service announcement was made when she said, "Just come down and join me and see the stadium, etc." And so I'm saying that all in all, it's an attempt to to convince people that the money is well spent, no more, nothing to worry about, no questions need to be asked. All is well in our country, and we can just move on in great serendipity from step by step. Everything is in order. But I really and truly wish that some of that attention had been paid. I wish rather than having this open day town hall at the at Kensington Oval, I much rather would have seen it happen with a new national stadium. And I said national in the sense of the first national stadium opened in 1970 was built out of the earnings of bingo, the JC's, Junior Chimney International. It was a Barbadian effort. And I personally have great difficulty in accepting national and attached to a gift from another country. It's something, it affects my psyche, my sense of being a Barbadian, and therefore I just wish that we could have been having that town hall about the gymnasium, about the new gym, the new national stadium.
Mm-hmm.
The Gary Sober's gymnasium was a different project. That was the Gary Sober. It was not a national anything. So, and I'm hoping that when, as we go on, that we get similar treatment for the new gymnasium when it comes into being, even before it gets the part of completion, that people will be exposed to all the inner workings of it that we've done in this regard. So, is there any time left, or is it any more
I
time left?
mean, I'm just so caught up in what you're sharing. I wasn't thinking about the time, but no, it's very very interesting, and it's always your session is always a time to learn. To be honest, and very deep. And now, as you were speaking, Mr. Murray, I was thinking about the Wellington Street, right? Wellington Street and the fire
Right.
victims, and how I went there twice, and I mean, it's interesting. I would love to know if anybody has heard, if the prime minister has walked through that neighborhood or been down there where the fire is, because what I realized from her, it seems to me, looking on, it's that she associates herself where there is something that is beautiful, that is great, that will put her in a great light. So I don't know, I might have missed it. Has she gone down, why didn't we have this big media thing with her speaking in Wellington Street, where we have the fire and the devastation? I just wondered about.
I myself cannot recall um, any uh, any visit by the prime minister, well, to the site of the fair in downtown Bridgetown. Um, and I believe, given that we're now into the era of celebrity politics, I'm sure that it would have been there with all the panache and fanfare and all the influences that would have been at work to deal with the issue. So I do not recall, but I do not recall that at all. So you are probably right, unless other persons can prove us wrong. But let me make one point before I go. That helps explain the prime minister's behavior and the question of her popularity and whatnot. There's a time when long before she became prime minister,
Mm,
when surveys were done, when polls were done, um, about the standing of the Barbara Slayer Party in the country, the candidates, the issues, etc. Her supporters were always very intent to make sure that supporters and I do not believe in coincidences. All of the polls and the analysis and the pollsters all said uh, that she was all she. The idea was that she an individual must always be must be more popular in the country than either the party, the BLP, or the leader. The hallmark was to be the more of the three entities, and I see this being considered now that, but she cannot be more popular than her party because she's head of the government. And she really, in the eyes of the public, and has been the way it's been reshaped and fashioned, she is the government. She personifies the government in a way that no other leader has ever personified a single government. So she cannot therefore be, I hope she just seek not see, or her supporters are seeking that same goal, to be the most popular, to be more popular than the BLP or the BLP government at this stage in her own right as an individual.
Yeah, but someone asked a little earlier, and that's the first thing that came to me when I saw it. Somebody asked, where was the minister of sports? Why did she have to be the one there on that? I'm sure he was the minister of sports was there, but why does it have to be all about her? Where is the minister responsible for that?
I think it is force of personality. She, I think the Prime Minister thinks that she has the greatest amount of social capital. She's the more, this is my evaluation of her based on my studies and experience, etc. She's the most persuasive. She's the most popular. More people are likely to believe her than anybody else in her party. And therefore, especially when there's a troublesome, controversial issue, she goes in almost like the firefighters then to put the fire out and
Mm,
calm waters and let things return to a tranquil state. And remember, and that's the point that happened in COVID, etc., where out of the blue, just insert and the ministers will be overshadowed, and that has contributed, whether it was deliberate or unintended consequence, that people have not seen the ministers as a whole operate in their own context, handling different issues, handling different situations, explaining policies, dealing with controversies, uh, and they've been robbed of that opportunity to grow and develop, impress the public, and fill the person's eyes as individuals in their own right, and not just been an attachment or an appendage to the party or the prime minister.
yeah, yeah. As someone said, that she is the party, and I think Barbadians need to be able to wake up and see what is happening, what we're dealing with here. Exactly what we're dealing with. This is all about this particular person. And I think there's someone who says here that one of the things that we have to recognize is that she does not like um, she doesn't like criticism. So, and I'm looking for, I think it's Kenneth that made the comment right now. And let me just try to find him. He says the PM's her issue is persistent criticism. The crack show and her responses are easily anticipated. And I think that's what you're saying, Mr. Murray.
Yes, that's right. And don't forget, I've seen that close up in several circumstances, which can be dealt with on another occasion. Uh, I've seen the prime minister as a minister in her better days and in some and her less than better days. All right, let me put it that way at this stage. So by temperament, by personality, she and I always remember that lone interview she had with David Ellis in I think July 2018, 3 months
Hmm.
or so after she got run the government.
Yes.
And she had this interview with David. It's the sole interview of its type done in Barbados in nearly 6 years. And as David Ellis, an experienced, one of Barbados' best journalists still, was interviewing and pressing her on a couple of points. She retorted, David, well, you indulge you indulge on one-upmanship there, man. One-upmanship on me, man. One-upmanship be being that where you're trying to prove that you are more important or more knowledgeable or superior to the person. That's how she saw David Ellis's doing his job as a probing, experienced journalist, and
Hmm.
and it tells you that tells you then that based on my knowledge of personalities and personality types and things, she's a she would be classified as alpha female, where
Hmm.
you are forceful, dominant, strong. And you have to be a political leader in some form or fashion or some kind. But this, and that's usually depending on the situation. But in this case, in other words, she must always be number one as an A1, and that is why she would always see herself, in my estimation, as being the best person, even though it might not be best as regards of knowledge of the subject, involvement of the details of the situation, but the
Mm-hmm.
best person for public perception. That once I say so, it is quiet, and therefore it should be so.
Yeah. Someone here is saying, I didn't watch it, but someone is saying that there was not one word from the Minister of Sports. He was only asked to stand with his team and be acknowledged. Can anybody verify that that is true? I don't know if it is true or not. This is what Hugh Howard is saying. Is there anybody who can verify that is what happened? And those are the things that we have to be perceptive and think about that. No, it should be the other way around, where the Minister of Sports is the person highlighted, and then the Prime Minister might come in and say something. But the Minister of Sports, under normal circumstances, is who should shine at an
But
event like this.
but then again, there's Comey, which is a private company, government company called Kensington Oval Management Inc. I one would have seen the chairman of Comey leading the charge, the biggest cheerleader, along with the chairman of the organizing committee, and he, his role in it as a chairman of a board. I think it reminded me of the situation we had with the QEH. Remember, we had a chairman of the QEH board, which was Miss Sutherland, and
Mhm,
then she would be the executive chairman. His role in this whole project, his visibility, his volubility, how much he spoke, explaining, involved in everything. He was more of an executive chairman, or better yet, a CEO.
mhm,
What, and I knew there used to be a CEO of Comey, right? Uh, what became the CEO? I haven't heard his name mentioned. What the CEO? I remember Comey, and I'm wondering too if out of the monies being made,
mhm,
Comey government used to owe Comey used to owe BCA $7 million. Some of it, I understand, might have been paid, but what is the situation? But Comey itself was the CEO of Comey had no visibility in the same way, just like the ministers of government had no visibility on this project, largest being the prime minister, the chairman of Comey, and the chairman of the organizing committee.
mhm.
Interesting, interesting.
Very, and the tour though that I think that I would respect. Let's talk about this. Why don't we have a tour and a town hall at the hospital, for example? When we consider the state of the hospital, all of this money is was spent. If you should get sick tonight, Barbados, would you want to go to the hospital, or are you going to go to Kensington Oval? Why don't you invite the media and do a walkthrough? When was the last time we had the Prime Minister just do a walkthrough at the hospital? When she's ill, when anything goes wrong with her, my understanding is that she takes a plane and she's out of here. She does her medical, all of her checks and everything done overseas. Why don't you do a tour? When you do a tour of the hospital, that's then I will respect you. Do a
But
tour of
but
the hospital, and that
but
would be good.
in all fairness to the prime minister, and the question of going overseas for medical checks, etc., that's an established practice by high-profile people in Barbados, high position, because some of them fear for the confidentiality of the
Hmm.
information. So that is not anything peculiar to her.
Hmm.
Most of
But
them do it.
I'm saying she would not, because she goes overseas. She know really what the conditions are? Would she know the conditions really, what the conditions are inside of that hospital? Because I have been there and I've seen a rat running up and down the hallway. I remember we had to run. We went to look for a student, and there was a big rat that was running up and down. There's videos with the rats come
But
running on the beds of the patient in the hospital. So I'm just saying that having, if you can only, if you are, when you have to see the doctor, your medical checkups and so on are done overseas, do you really know what's happening in the hospital?
Yeah, but the reason why that was not would not have been undertaken is that what happened at Kensington is a distraction, is entertainment. It's almost like it's in the same vein as what happened at East Coast Road for a National Heroes Day. Uh, Enjoyment, distraction. Well, I'm not sure what if there were any refreshments served, but there is entertainment, light. You get chance in the PR spiel and production uh, uh, to be distracted from the real issues in your life, things that are pressing you in your life, the demands on you, etc. What happens to Barbados after the World Cup? The World Cup has to end. What is the offering for Barbados economy, um, apart from tourism, which fortunately continues to perform well. What else is there? I heard the Minister of Agriculture. If I'm going on too long, let me know. But I heard the Minister of Agriculture the other talk about uh, Barbados exported 1 million pounds of sweet potatoes to England in what century? It was, I'd be glad to be able to get a regular cup of sweet potatoes, one of my favorite items of food. If I have sweet potato, I can eat it with anything else, right? So 1 million pounds, and people are struggling. I'm not even sure what the price of a pound of sweet potato is. Where's the reality? As though you're living in a cocoon, you're living in a bubble, and they just talk and do not understand. You're living. The people who watch the news international every day, and they apply their common sense. They know what's happening in the world, and these schemes which you make to impress you just do not add up. So the distraction will come and go, but then the real life in Barbados, on the street, in people's life, will still have to go back to reality.
Wow. Yeah. I tell you, I tell you, I tell you. Let me just Mr. Franklin is here, and Mr. Murray. This is quite inspiring. I'm here. Okay, I think Mr. Franklin, you have me playing on something else.
No, you can hear me?
I'm hearing
Yeah.
myself twice.
No, I just that's what I was trying to get. Just now when you were trying to see if I was here, I was trying to get on. I was having a lot of trouble.
You're having a lot of trouble. All right,
So
so let's have you go off and come back on.
all right,
Thank you. Yes. Yes, yes. No, no, seriously, it's this ridiculous thing. I mean, like when they said they were going to they're going to do 10,000 houses, everybody knew that it was ridiculous, but some reason they believe that they could tell us these things when we can't even afford to buy sweet potato here. We are still importing sweet potato, and you come because you hear people, the Barbadians are now saying to the Ministry of Agriculture, what is your vision for Barbados? What are you doing with the agricultural lands? You are taking the lands, the agricultural land, and you are putting up townhouses, and you are doing all these kinds of things. Now all of a sudden you think we're idiots. You're going to tell us you're going to be exporting all of that when you are standing in the potato field, and when you have reaped all of those potatoes. Stand up in the field and then make the announcement, please.
But I do not quite understand this problem we're producing in the Second World War. When you talk about supply chains disruption, Second World War, I think it might have been Governor Bush. You ever heard about the Bush experiment, where there were quotas laid down where the country was mandated to produce to feed itself, and it did. This is between 39 and 45. If we could do it then, why can't we do it now? If Barbados had public housing dating back to about 1940, Deacons Road and Belfield were some of the first in 41. And then we have mushroomed to all over Barbados where public housing was provided. How can we, a more educated, technically equipped, etc., society, how can we no longer do these things? Unless that because we are in the throes of an IMF program, and the IMF is financed, and like I keep saying, the IMF is not a piggy bank. It is not a charitable institution. It's not a credit union. An institute is a financial institution that borrows and lends and invests and must make profits for its people. So I have to say, unless we are now allowed to use the public purse anymore to finance these deals on behalf of the public, because the social the social the social dynamics and the social situation out of the 1930s, democratic socialism, that was our role of government. That role now, you hear the government, and I'm very concerned about this phrase of government. The public sector must lead and drive the development in Barbados. It has never. It has never. The development of Barbados, the private sector has been, like I said, it was sugar importing and selling. It has not gone. It's really, and there was slight manufacturing, but it's never gone. But they have never taken up the challenge of being broad and far thinking. They're thinking the vision to seek to lead the development of Barbados. What the private sector, not necessarily Barbados, the private sector will have to be the foreign private sector, who, when we have IMF programs and policies, when we have IADB projects, the expertise come from those countries. The private sector of those countries then get the opportunity to provide goods and services for which the public pays, and the government's reduction of expenditure locally is implemented and then happen, but the country is the poorer for it because it is all about making a profit. Now, housing is also a social good in Barbados, social good like transportation, like health, like education. And we seem to have gone where now we've become so Americanized, so globalized, that we too have fallen into this pit that every man brags for himself and the devil takes the hindmost.
Yeah. Easy D says, yes, it was good then. Things has changed, but we're now in the 21st century. Unfortunately, the clock cannot be turned backwards. We just have to move forward but you hear what you said, and upward, Easy D. So, yes, if we were in a different time now, but if you could make, I can't even, that ridiculous amount of sweet potatoes to export, we should be able to make much more than that so we could eat and drive the price down. We're paying $4 and $5 a pound for sweet potatoes. The whole thing doesn't make sense to the average Barbadian. So in this 21st century, we should be producing more sweet potatoes then, so that we could eat instead of having to import it from the neighboring Caribbean islands. Good night, Caswell.
Good night. You hear me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you and I'm not echoing. How are you doing?
Oh, I am well. Thanks. And good night, everyone. Good night, Martha.
Good night.
Good night. And good night to everyone who's listening, watching. I heard Glenn say that politicians, don't want their business out. That wasn't the reason. Burnham went into surgery for tonsils and died. And ever since then, every politician in the Caribbean fighting to go on the one thing because they believe to this day that Burnham got killed in surgery. He only had tonsils, and he did not survive a tonsillectomy. And people were doing tonsillectomies. I think the first body had his tonsils done was Abraham. So,
Yeah.
So it is not a difficult operation.
Yeah. Mr. Murray, for some reason, and we can work with it. When you are not speaking, there is a noise that comes through on your microphone. So what I normally do is that I turn off your mic, and when you're ready to speak, then you turn it on. Okay?
That's fine. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. So that is the real reason politicians don't want them, because they don't trust the people that they're hired to take care of them, because they don't know who is who, and they don't have any confidence in the Barbadians. One politician recently who went to the QEH to get service, and that was Jerome. He trusted his people. He was a doctor there, but unfortunately they couldn't get his shoulder fixed, so the hospital referred him to a hospital in Miami that specialized in the problem that he had. He had some problem with his shoulder. I don't know exactly. I don't really want to discuss his thing, but at least he was the exception. All the rest go away.
Yeah. Somebody wrote me and said here that the sweet potato project is to do that and earn much needed foreign exchange in terms of samples. Several samples of potatoes were planted to see what's best for the customer, the foreign market. How it will work is the government will buy at $2 from the farmer, so it would not take the price of the potatoes through the roof. The price would be actually cheaper because there would be a glut on the market. So don't knock it until it's been tried. The minister could have done nothing, but he's trying as the person is saying that what the minister is doing, the minister is going to buy it from the farmers at $2, and then they sell it to overseas. I think what we're saying though to the listener, to the viewer, is that this sounds to us like the houses. Remember the 10,000 houses? We know that a lot of these, it's just a lot of promises. We know that we don't have enough sweet potatoes here to for our own consumption. It just seems far fetched. But go ahead.
No, he said the minister could have done nothing. You mean continue to do nothing? Because he has done nothing so far. So I don't know about what he's done. The only thing he tried, and I told him up front it was not going to work, was the marijuana thing, the medical cannabis. I told him, look, the only way that will work in Barbados is if federal law in the United States allows for cannabis, and it doesn't. Some states have legalized cannabis, but the federal government can't. You can't take it to any one of those states. As a matter of fact, in some of those states that legalize cannabis, the people sell the cannabis, but they gotta put the money in barrels and keep it in the warehouse and the barn because the banks can't touch it because it's a federal crime to touch the money. So I was telling them from the beginning when they were talking about how much money marijuana is going to bring in for us, I thought it will not work. You see, and the thing is, they might got a market, but where is the market for these sweet potatoes? You think people in England are waiting for Barbados sweet potatoes? We used to send breadfruits to England every week, shipment, and that dried up. You remember, Glenn, when we had the BMC? Every week, you had people going around picking breadfruits and shipping them off to England. Now, everything has dried up. The Ministry of Agriculture isn't doing the work that it should be doing to produce food in Barbados. Yams are $8 a pound, that kind of nonsense. And why it is $8 a pound? Because when the plantations grow the yams, you don't go in the field and dig them now, The plantations dig the yams for you and sell you at $4 a pound. Now, you're not going to buy them at $4 a pound and sell them at $5, but it will make no sense. So, yeah, they're selling at $8, and you can't really kill some person for it. You got a markup, you got to get some money, or it don't make no sense. You're not doing a service, you're in business. So, what they have to do is to encourage more people to go and put a lot of the land back into agriculture instead of trying to put it into housing. Look at the land up there in Kingston area now that they want to put in housing. Very arable agricultural land. No, but they don't want to do that. The government is mad, man. And they see the thing is they come up with these pie in the sky dreams, things that don't make sense. And nobody tell them, come back to earth. Start thinking local and then move out from there. But they're thinking, we can go and storm the markets out there. You can sell English potatoes to England, and I can't get them. I can't get potatoes under $3.
Yeah.
I used to buy a rod for $3 when I was much younger.
Yeah.
The boy said there are no tomatoes in the supermarkets. No, I still got some here.
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking, loyal daughter, and let me just say to the person, I understand the minister is seeking to do something, but it needs to make sense though, and I'm not sure if it makes sense. I mean, she says give it a time before you knock it. I do a little planting myself, and from the time I heard it, I kind of just said really. And the loyal daughter 66 is saying what I feel, is that they have these grandiose plans or ideas. However, sadly, they lack implementation skills, and that's my thing. When I see I can't hardly buy sweet potatoes, and then are you telling me you're going to? Sometimes you can't even find sweet potatoes, but we're going to export it. It doesn't make sense, you know.
But you see, Marcia, what the minister does not understand either is that the farmers will only sell him sweet potatoes at $2 if they don't have a market here. Because if I'm going to sell you for $2 Barbados dollars, and the fellow out there buying it one back from me for $3, I'm going to sell it to the fellow who's going to pay me $3. So he is not making sense. You gotta go and plow all those fields that you have lying fallow now, and plant potatoes, plant yams, plant canes, plant something. But plant food, do something. Look, plant. I hear somebody was talking about peppers. Yeah, they're on the thing. Thanks, Nikki.
1 second. I think Mr. Murray wanted to say something. Go ahead,
Yes.
Caswell, it makes me wonder when I see the fiasco that's happening in the Ministry of Agriculture on these projects. First of all, it made me remember that we were going to be importing. I think David Thompson had promised us vegetables from Dominica.
Yeah.
I think we've been promised vegetables from Belize,
Correct.
etc. Right? Remember all that? Well, it seems to me that this minister seems to be advising himself. There was a time when the public servants, the chief agriculture officer, they had more PhDs at this Ministry of Agriculture than any other department in Barbados. Well trained, well informed people to research. And we were able to do things constructively. Remember, a lot of vegetables and foods used to produce at Graham Hall, that those acres around the ministry of itself, those used to be productive. Is he so busy advising himself? Is it that because you change the structure and the composition of your ministry where you're not putting your chief agriculture officer on contract, you're importing people with no knowledge of the system, etc. You're not paying the price for that. And you don't hear anything about the vet services. It seems the only body you hear talk about agriculture is the minister talking about what he would like to do, what he do, rather than we hear people saying what is happening in the supermarket, on people's tables and in people's bellies.
Look, tell me something. The Pine Livestock Station, that still works? Because I remember when I was first working as an industrial relations officer, one of my department was that agricultural station and the livestock station in the Pine. They had a lot of animals there, and the thing is too, they were using them to develop people's herds. They had these animals that they brought from overseas, and they will use them to service the local cows to improve the breeds and that kind of thing. I don't know. The place looks like it's abandoned now.
You don't hear those kind of stories anymore in the paper. And there used to be stories in the newspaper. They used to have a 4-H program on GIS, and there was always activity talking about agriculture. But none of that is just the minister talk from on high, and that is that.
But you must remember too that Ministry of Agriculture was the premier ministry in Barbados going back in the 30s, 40s, 50s. As a matter of fact, when you wanted information and documents and stuff, you got them from Ministry of Agriculture. Because I remember when I worked in the Ministry, the Attorney General's office, I had to serve documents. I went to Graham Hall, and they had a lot of books to throw away, old books, because some new fella coming and he think these books should be thrown away. And I tell them, don't throw them away. Let me get them. And they took the librarian from Attorney General's office, and we brought them down, and we have them now stored in the. Of course, I kept some for myself. The book that I pulled up when I showed the laws of Barbados from 1667. That is one that I rescued from the fire. But Ministry of Agriculture had everything. They were supplied with everything. They had the most money is right now we go to health and stuff. It used to be agriculture because they were concentrating on making money through food, growing food, feeding the people. Now, Ministry of Agriculture is not a quarter of what the Ministry of Agriculture used to be. You took, for instance, now, and to show the contempt they had for agriculture, and mind you, I do not have anything disregard for the young lady. I like her as a matter of fact, but they took a young lady who had a 6 weeks program in Israel and make her chief agricultural officer, and bypass people with doctorates and masters and stuff in the area to give somebody a program. The ministry to run for 3 years, a three year. But of course, now after 3 years, they probably realized the error of their ways, and they didn't renew her contract. But what would inform your mind to tell you that you could come with some person that had a 6 weeks program when your juniors have masters and that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
It was nonsense.
But this person is talking about the black belly sheep that they took to Guyana. So what we're saying, guys, there is a constant move towards upticks. This is what Mr. Murray started off talking about. Once there's criticism, then they move in a certain direction without thinking about what they're doing. Now, CG says something here, which I saw, and the person said, CG says, by the way, the Ministry of Agriculture, Graham Hall, has watermelon on sale for $1 a pound. Now, this is my view, gentlemen. I'm thinking that if I heard that we had sweet potatoes, there's we have a glut on the market of sweet potatoes, Mr. Murray, right? And this is going on for about 6 months in Barbados. And then the Minister of Agriculture comes to me and says, and comes to the nation and says, well, we are going to be exporting, the excess because we have so much on the market. That as a lay person, as an average citizen, that makes sense to me. If over a period of time, we have a whole set of watermelon on the market, and it, we have a glut of watermelon, and then we are going to export because we have more than what we need, then I would believe it.
But Marcia, while we are talking and focusing on the primary product, the original product, it's also the whole question of processing. Why can't we have sweet potato chips and bag them and can them and create snacks, healthier snacks for Barbados and export too? So it's not just the raw product. Is what the economists call the linkages, the processing, the turn into products, and that's what you do. But you don't just start by exporting. You have to satisfy and test out your local. I mean, virtually every other product invention has always started at home, testing the market, build experience, build rep, and then you export. But you want to start by exporting. But then it reminds me of the present Minister of Agriculture is the first politician in Barbados I knew who told me that he was a brand. He's a brand. Okay, so a brand is an entity. So maybe he doesn't need to know it. He knows it all already. He thinks it, and once he thinks it is so. The place is replete of highly trained, like Caswell and I have both been saying, people. But let me make this more interesting, Caswell, about
we need to change the topic.
Yeah. Yes. All right. You mentioned about throwing away all those books and documents. I remember a certain when they went to Ottawa to be High Commissioner, I was told that the files were about to be dumped because it was given from headquarters. There was a policy implemented by a senior officer, a permanent secretary, that they wanted a permanent office. So I would get, how files were at public Castle. You get a file, a minute, and unless you reply it, send it in a file in a folder. I was getting, stickies on a piece of paper. I said, nah, there's not the way I was trained in public service. This is degrading. And I went back to the old system, and all the files that they were going to throw out, I said, save them. And what happened, the irony of it all, we would then start to get calls from Barbados asking us to provide them for information from all files that they had thrown out in Barbados. And then the horrifying, I'm told all the documents dealing with the development of Barbados' foreign policy for independence. All the original document treaties have been dumped. Nobody can go back and check for history, the original history of Barbados as an independent country, because the idea was to get rid of all the paper and rob us of that heritage. Amazing. Absolutely astounding.
Right.
But that is the new people that we have coming into the public service. They bring them at the top. They don't know anything. They don't understand anything. They just come in to rule.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, guys. This is a quite exciting segment. We kind of segued into agriculture because it's a big issue for us here in Barbados. But Mr. Franklin, again, good night again. And I wanted to read something to you here that someone sent me on one of your favorite places. And I was told they said, and I believe my source, it's a good source, that you remember the amount that was quoted in the newspaper of how much money that was owed to BRA, that citizens owed.
My source this time is nonsense.
Yes, so I'm hearing that. I got that as well, and really to ask the revenue commissioner if there was any error in computing that money owed to BRA. So can you expound on that so that our listeners can understand what we're talking about?
No, I don't know too much about it. I remember this center. They tried to give the people the impression that Barbados were not paying taxes and that people owe so much, when in fact they are misrepresenting what is happening.
Mm-hmm.
The figures are overstated. A lot of people who claim owe taxes don't owe the taxes. Like, remember the other night with Don, we were able to establish that some of the people who are claiming taxes from weren't even in Barbados.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they try to give the impression, and that all this money is owing, and that the reason why the government got money is because we are starving the government of money, which is a good idea, mind you, because this government don't need any more money, because the more it gets, the more it spends foolishly. But I understand it. I am not on the ground. I understand it is far from the truth. And what I suspect to what they want to link it to is that the people who are striking, so the money is not being collected. But that will not wash, because all they have to do is to sit down and negotiate with the people who work with them, and them is more special than anybody else. But I don't have any more facts other than what people have been saying to me, that the information is not true, and to ask them to itemize the money that they're claiming, because they come up with this lump sum, but they can't tell you how much is land tax, how much is license fees or whatever, it's a license and authority. They just come up with something for a story to take attention away from what is actually going on. There's another distraction.
Yes. And someone sent me, I just had a few little things here on BRA. Not little, they're major. This person says it's just confirming what you were saying about when calls are being made to the call center. That is a waste of anyone's time, as the calls are not answered. And if they are, the officers usually do not have a clue to what is going on. So I'm hearing that refusal to issue telephone numbers to the officers attached to any case, or tax money, or paying the telephone bills of the officers. And I'm told we're not allowed to give the numbers. How then am I able to have my matters addressed? Which is it's just confirming, I thought, what you're saying. And I sent that WhatsApp to you. So I guess as we go on, you will make mention of any of these various issues. But what's on your mind tonight, sir?
Well, I wanted to go back to the prison.
Mm-hmm.
I said that for purpose, when I say go back to prison. What I did today, when I had a break, I was checking the legislation to determine what is happening at prison, because right now, within the year, we had 2 prisoners dying because they did not receive adequate medical attention. The last one, my understanding is that he was checked, his lips were cracked, so they knew he was dehydrated, and his fingers were blue. But he was allowed to lay down there for 5 hours before the ambulance, they'll send an ambulance or took an ambulance for him. One thing too is the prison ambulance don't work a lot of the time, and when it is working, because the other vehicles are not working, they're going to use that to transport people to the court. So if the ambulance is there, but it is not being used as an ambulance, it is being used as transport. So that gentleman died, and I think unnecessarily. But what concerned me most is I was reading the Prison Act, and the Prison Act, you can't believe the horrors, because prisoners, the law mandates better treatment for prisoners. It isn't happening, and nobody is answering for it. Like, for instance, I'm hearing that you don't get a doctor, you can't find a doctor, the doctor's going on Zoom and examining up on Zoom. All kinds of things are happening. This is what the law says should happen. There is a post in the public service for a medical officer at the prison. There is an established post. I could probably check the serial list to see who and the kind of salary it gets. And it says here, it shall be the duty of the medical officer to visit every prison daily. But we only got one prison, so you only got one place to go. And to record in a book to be kept for that purpose the hour of his visit and the number of sick he may find in the prison each day. And the officer in charge shall inspect such record daily. Now, this is another function of the medical officer. It says at least once a month, the medical officer shall inspect the whole prison with particular attention to the cooking and sanitary equipment in the prison. We are being told that the men are being fed from dirty bowls because they don't have the soap to wash them. And this is section 16 that I just read of the Prisons Act. So it's not something I'm making up. I plead not guilty of making up my own stuff. But I go on. They provide for in Rule 30, the medical officer shall keep a record of the death of any prisoner, and the record shall include the following: A, the time at which the deceased was taken ill, the time at which the illness was first noticed by the medical officer, the nature of the illness, the time of death of the prisoner, an account of the appearance after death in the case where a post-mortem examination is performed, and F, any special remarks which appear to him to be required. The prison rules have answer for almost everything. It is just that they're not being used. And I would like to go through a few things that the rules say, because I have the rules.
And while you're looking for that, let me tell you who is in our chat tonight on our on Lumumba Batson, who is he has been rehabilitated, and he wants to say something about this prison, the prison conditions, and how important it is that the conditions are right for there to be true rehabilitation. But let me let you go on, and then we're gonna he's going to jump in. Yes.
Rule, no, there are rules. There's the act and there are rules. All right,
yes.
These are the 1974 rules made under the provisions that they have under the act. You can make rules, And it says the officer in charge shall exercise a close and constant personal supervision of the prison. He shall visit and inspect daily the kitchens and all parts of the prisons where prisoners are working or accommodated, and shall give special attention to every prisoner who is in a hospital or under restraint or undergoing cellular confinement. He should also periodically inspect the prisoner's food. That is not being done, has not been done for a while. The food, well, you heard from the mother the other night, the food that they give them. Well, she was mild to compare, because I've spoken to prison officers that they would not eat it. They can't eat it. Because one time, the prison officers used to get food there too, because the food was good enough for them. They're not touching it now. So, like when the cook ain't eating their own food, that is food that you should not eat.
Mm-hmm.
I remember years ago, I was a young man working in the National Insurance building. I used to go across Charleston Street and buy food from a shop out there. And they go on and I asked for my food. I used to pay first and they would hand you the food later. And when somebody came in and asked for the proprietress, and the person said, "Oh, she going home for lunch." I said, "Hey, give me back my money. If she can't eat here, eating here neither, you got a big nose in the place, boy, get back my money." You see, so when you have a situation where the people who are responsible for preparing the food and stuff can't eat it, it isn't wholesome, right? That is what I just read to you is Rule 34, where Rule 34.1.2 says, 34.2 says, at least once a week, the officer in charge shall visit and inspect every part of the prison at an uncertain hour between 6:30 p.m. and 5 a.m. of the following day, and shall record in red ink in his journal both the time of such visit and the condition of the prison.
Mm-hmm.
That is not happening either. People don't see the superintendent. And this is a man now who has not taken vacation since 2020. And I always warn people that if you don't take vacation, it leaves me suspicious.
But no, but
Right?
Mr. Franklin, read this here. You have just established a clear case of negligence against the government. That medical officer post has not been abolished.
No, they can't abolish it. They will have to repeal. Because Glenn will be able to tell you, if the minister can create posts in the public service, he can establish certain posts. But this post is not one established post by the civil establishment, by the act. So in order to get rid of this, you got to go to Parliament. So they have not gone to Parliament and replaced this. So I am understanding now that they say, good night, Caswell, good night. They are now they're not being fed peas for meat. So they're not giving them any meat now, they're giving them, I suppose, they heard us last episode, they're giving them peas now, they're giving peas instead. They got some peas and hopefully they taste good, and give them to the prisoners now instead of meat. The prisons have a budget of
Mr. Murray, just hold the thought until he's finished his presentation.
For goods and services, the goods and services will include buying food of $11,715,539. That's $11,715,539. This is for to provide goods and services, which would include the food. So if you got $11 million and you don't got no food, you spent, your priorities are wrong. Prisoners got to be fed. They're not getting soap. They're not getting toothpaste. They're not getting slippers. And some of these rules, they will tell you that you're going to provide those things. And these are not things that the parents should be putting on the canteen for them to get. It has to be some sort of racket where you are selling prisoners things that the government should provide. You can't lock up a fella and then treat him like you just send him to hell. This it is unconscionable, right? We also heard that they give them what they call dietary punishment. And they're doing it without the say-so of the medical officer. And the law, Rule 46 says that, let me read it for you. Cellular confinement, corporal punishment, or restriction on the diet shall in no case be awarded unless the medical officer has certified that the prisoner is in a fit condition of health to sustain it. If the medical officer does not come to the prison and you're still giving people dietary punishment, something is wrong. Who now turns around and do these things? The WhatsApp messages keep coming. There's a woman in charge of medical unit is going to court and telling the judge that the prison is well equipped to handle health challenges and trying to prevent them from getting bail when she knows well enough it is false. Well, that is, I know that for a fact. So, but some correspondent just sent me something, and I'm telling you, because they don't even have Panadol down there. You know, there's not even Panadol. A lot of the medications have expired. You can't give them to people when they have expired, because you never know, after a while they might turn into something else or go off and poison you or something. So the place is a mess, and nobody seems to care or want to do anything about it because these are prisoners. But I don't care if you are a prisoner or a saint. There are certain levels of that you have to treat people. You can't just, because you're a prisoner, treat them like an animal. And mind you, they're being treated worse than animals, because one, they don't get soap to wash their clothes, they don't get soap to bathe, and they smell like a bar of monkeys and or ducks. And at the same time, there is $11 million that can buy these things. So what is happening to the $11 million that is supposed to be spent to equip the prison? Like, for instance, again, you have in the workshop where you fix the small engine repair shop that they used to have one to teach people how to do it. I personally know the officer that was in that shop. He had a problem with his superintendent, because he would have, when the people took them to court over the whole issue with the unconstitutional piece of legislation that formed the association, and they took him out the workshop. Reduced his, they wouldn't pay him. And now what he used to do, because he used to work for one of the companies, the same company that they send the tools to. So if he hasn't been a prison officer, and he would still be working at that place, they would have been coming to him to fix. He is in the prison, and they are not sent. They don't even want him to get near them, because that would mean a promotion for him. And nobody who challenged the administration can be promoted. You have people being promoted in a lot of jobs in the prison that don't really exist. We had a superintendent who was a colonel in the Barbados Defense Force. So he came into the prison and brought in a lot of prison things like staff officer. We haven't got nothing in the establishment with a staff officer and nothing. So they get around and not doing anything. And I remember, Glenn, and you should remember this too. The Tormanos administration had been taken away from those departments, those paramilitary departments, the duties that the soldiers, the police, whatever they were doing, and employing civilians. I happen to be one of those civilians that went into and performed the immigration department, because that used to be police. I was trained as an immigration officer by police. and then they relinquish the thing. And the police that used to take, they put them on the beat, get them to do police work. You know, and so now you have gone back to the old days, and you have a lot of people in the prison sitting down, not doing prison work, and not having enough manpower to do the prison work because you got people working 8 to 4 doing office jobs that should be done by civilians.
Yes. Yeah.
The lady in charge of the medical unit now is a former soldier again, who the superintendent favored, and he sent her to learn this nursing thing, and then bring her back in the prison and call her sister or whatever it is. No experience in treating people before, but she's in charge of the medical unit, doesn't have the necessary skills. But before her, we had a lady who was a nurse who used to work in the system as a nurse. And what I believe should continue to happen is that they should bring nurses, trained nurses from the polyclinic or the hospital.
Right.
When you want a nurse for the thing, instead of making a prison officer a nurse. Because what that does is to take away the amount of people that you would have to monitor and control the prison officers. That is why you're still working 12-hour shifts. Right?
Wow.
Because you have a lot of people who do not work with. You have too many people who do not work with prisoners in a prison. That sounds strange again, just like the officer working remotely.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, listen to all these things. I think, you know, somebody's asking, what do we do? And we have another 3 minutes, and then I'm going to ask Lumumba to share his personal experience, because Mr. Franklin was reading from the laws of Barbados of how it is supposed to be. You know, but Lumumba is going to talk to us about what his experience has been. Mr. Murray, very quickly, because we don't have much time, can you make a quick comment? I know you wanted to say something.
Yeah. First of all, I want to confirm the point of a prison doctor. I first knew of a prison doctor growing up in Spoonersville because the site where the Lawrence T. Gay School now, it used to be the home of Dr. Klunger, the prison doctor. We would go there for pre-medical attention. So that has been long established. I am beginning to believe that we are working towards privatization of the prisons. It's happened in Britain, it's happened in the United States, it's happened in Canada, and something on the post office. All these things are marked for privatization through the IMF. The last thing I'd like to say is that I think the Prime Minister, under whom the present prison was built when she was Attorney General, I think I started with the Attorney General. She should her next town hall should be at the prison with the prisoners, because as a former member of cabinet, I'm wondering if something like this had happened. We've been getting repeated a litany of woes week after week of the prison department. I'm not hearing anything, and I'm not seeing or seeing anything happen that would give you the impression that the Prime Minister or the Minister are on top of the situation and that things are about to get better. As though they're taking it, it's become new norm, and we are devaluing the country, we're degrading the country, and we are treating our citizens less than they should. It really is not good enough. Under Owen Arthur, some phone call, somebody got a phone call early. What about this? What about that? And you hear, take the prison out of the news. Do face it and fix and take the prison out of the news. But no, it seems as though it just happens and nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. I look at the staff list and it says medical officer vacant. Has been vacant for a long time.
Yeah, you know,
Marcia, before we go up to Lumumba, I just want to read one last thing for you. It says here, subject to paragraph 2, every prisoner shall be provided on admission with such toilet articles as are necessary for health and cleanliness, and arrangement shall be made for the replacement of these articles when necessary. That's subsection 1, subparagraph 1, sorry. And then subparagraph 2 says, such articles shall be replaced at the prisoner's order expense whenever such prisoner's earnings are sufficient to meet the cost of the replacement. So prisoners get paid a small amount. So if they make enough money, they can buy their own thing. But if they don't have any money, the prison is supposed to provide them.
Right.
But you're not providing them with anything, and something is wrong here. Totally
Right.
wrong. You got me smelling too
Breaking
musty,
of the
man.
law. Let me hear from Lumumba. Lumumba, good evening. How are you? Good evening. Are you there?
Good evening. Good evening. Could you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
I'm hearing you. Keep speaking.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Is it my?
All right. We ready to go, Brother Caswell, the elder brother. I believe his name is Brother Manning.
Murray.
Murray, Brother Murray, and Sister Marcia. I'm ready to go.
Okay, so what happens is that I have to turn off your mic. The same thing was happening with Caswell. So hold a minute, and when you're ready to speak, I will turn it on. Okay. So Lumumba, I asked Lumumba Batson to be on the show this evening because we had been talking about prison conditions, and what a lot of people don't know, they see this man who is mentoring young people. We hear about Theory Gittins, that we all love Theory. Theory came to me as a mentor of Lumumba and Theory Giddens, and he just loves Lumumba. And Lumumba, Theory is at the university doing it so well. And there's so many other young men and young people that Lumumba has mentored over the years. But what a lot of people don't know, Lumumba, is your history. And I want you to talk to them about that tonight, because we're talking about the conditions of prisons in Barbados, right? And we're talking about rehabilitation. Can't hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Okay. You have a delay. You're having a delay.
Or can you hear me?
Okay, Lumumba, can you go out and come back in?
Yeah, let me see.
Yeah. Yeah, so while he's off, yeah, Caswell, you were saying something. Go ahead, please.
No, I said while the number is out, I can also tell you that the food provided for prisoners shall be of a nutritional value adequate for health and strength, and of wholesome quality, well prepared and served, and reasonably varied in accordance with the dietary scales prescribed by the minister. Such scales may be revised from time to time as the minister directs. This is a rule in the prison. So when they don't feed the prisoners, they don't give them soap, they don't, all of these things are contrary to the law. And I suspect what should happen is that a prisoner should bring a lawsuit against them for breaching their own rules.
Yes. Yeah.
And until this thing gets in the paper and get noticed internationally and publicly, where a prisoner have to sue them to get proper food because they get rice or macaroni. I know I understand they're getting peas because they were giving them pork with here. If I was to eat pork with here. And that was it. I understand also they had something called Bigfoot stew. Bigfoot's for sauce,
But let me get back to Lumumba here and get him in. Lumumba, can you hear me now?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, wonderful. Everything, oh, thank God, is much better. So Lumumba, talk to us about your experience. You have had experience in prison, and I want you to talk to us about that and compare to what is happening, what we hear is happening in Barbados, etc. Walk us through that.
Well, let me say that the prisons in the Caribbean, and I went to prisons in Trinidad, St. Lucia, and St. Kitts. And I must say, and I also had a visit to the prisons here in Barbados. I would say that the prisons in the Caribbean is about 50 years behind um, prisons in America, or maybe in Canada or England or whatever. What to me, what the Caribbean deal with is crime and punishment. They do not deal with rehabilitation. They may they may make it appear as if they deal with it, but um, we could see by the high rate of recidivism that rehabilitation is not taking place. Now, when we use the term rehabilitation, what are we saying? Rehabilitation, when you look it up, it means to restore. So, what are we restoring? A person that goes into that committed a crime, was found guilty, given a sentence based on the crime that's committed, and then continue to be punished and not rehabilitated. And that is what happens here and everywhere in the Caribbean. That is crime and punishment. What happened is that the public too has become kind of desensitized because of all the crime that's taking place, and the most of the people in the population, when a person gets arrested for, let's say, a murder or a robbery, they, most people are, yeah, I'm glad that happened. Lock them up. So the public also feels the same way. I remember that these officers, these prison officers, are a part of the public, right? So when an individual goes into prison for committing a crime, the public says good for him, and then the public forgets about him until they see him again 10 years later. And that person comes right back into your community, or the community from whence he came from in the first place. Now, within that time, you haven't seen that individual. Have the individual gotten better, or have the individual gotten worse? Well, when we see the high rate of recidivism, we will say, it's only fair to say that the individual becomes worse in prison, right? Brother Caswell spoke about the food, speak about the treatment, the prisoners dying in there from things that they don't have to die from. And we don't understand, what the society don't understand is that when this individual, if I go to prison and I'm treated badly and I'm angry, I'm not lashing out at the correction officers that's treated me bad, but what I'm saying to myself is I can't wait to get back out there. They thought I was bad before, they're going to see badness now, right? And the individual, just because there's nothing going on for that person to help that person to rehabilitate, to restore that person.
So let me ask you a question, Lumumba, because I'm going to just turn your mic off until there still is a problem there. You're talking about rehabilitation, and you're comparing what you experienced in prison. You were in prison in the US, right? I want you to talk to me about what the process of rehabilitation was like for you in the prison. What happened for you when you went in? What were the highlights? What was part of your program that you said, yes, that thing really made a difference in my life, so I can now be of such being such a good citizen in Barbados now. Can you take us through that?
Well, there's nothing that you could put in the prison to change an individual if the individual don't want to change. That's number one. Let's be clear on that. It has to be something that the individual himself, rehabilitation takes place from within. You have to see your errors. You have to be willing to confront your errors, and you have to be willing to forgive yourself and others. You have to be willing, not only say it, but you have to be willing to do it. And what I went through, I went to prison from the age of 16, and I did 6 years. So I'm just trying to show you now about rehabilitation. It never worked. Those 6 years that I was there never worked. While I was in there, I was in awe at the guys that I heard about when I was young, and I heard about what they used to do, and now I'm in there with them. And a lot of them never taught me, well, you ain't supposed to come back to prison. That's not what they taught me. They was telling me, well, listen, if you robbing, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. And I wasn't thinking that the person that's telling me this is how you do it is in prison doing life. I wasn't thinking that way as a youngster. So it took me 3 times. It took me 3 times to get it. 3 times. Some people never get it. Others get it the first time. Some people may go to prison and they never go return back again. They get it the first time. So I got it on the 3rd time. How I started to change and what rehabilitated me is that I have sons, I have children. And while I was in prison, I was seeing fathers and sons walk in the prison yard together. And I said to myself, whoa, you want your son to be in here with you, walk in this yard with you? I don't want my children to be in prison with me. And according to the statistics in America, if a father goes to prison or a father goes to prison, the children, the sons or the daughters are most likely to end up in prison also. That's the statistics. Sometimes in one family in America, you may find the grandmother, the mother, the father, and the children all on parole. All of them. So I had to make that decision. I also had a mother I also have a family that love me. And I also had to think about what I am doing to them. How it's hurting them, how it's destroying them. I had to do a lot of soul searching to come to that stage that I say, well, listen, I can't do this no more. I can't come back. I can't fool my family anymore. I got to walk straight. I have to walk straight. I don't want to tell my sons when they come to see me, they shouldn't be doing this and they shouldn't be doing that, but I'm doing it. I realized that I have to be the example. So that's what led me on the road up to rehabilitation. So looking into yourself, really doing some soul searching, not blaming anyone, not blaming the state, not blaming, your family, not, blaming yourself, coming to terms with yourself. And that in itself led me on to that path of, as they would say, rehabilitation. I got involved while in the prison. I got involved with a youth program. There was a Deacon Rosado at the time. He just came up to me and asked me if I would like to be a part of the program dealing with youths. And in this program, they would bring the youths in from the detention centers. They would bring them in from the churches, from the on the blocks, wherever they would bring them in, and we would share it wasn't a scare straight. It was not a scare straight. We did not believe in scaring anyone because we felt that to scare people, when you scared, you are not thinking. So we wanted the youths to think. So we didn't want to scare them. So we shared our life experience, what we went through, the choices we made, the consequences of the choices that we made, how it hurt our family, how it destroyed our community. these are the things that we spoke to the youths about. And the program was so successful, I became the leader of the program actually for a number of years. And with the amount of letters that parents was writing and saying, well, listen, you know what, if you let this man out now, you know, we want him in our community. We want him to be around our children, you know. And this was not just, this was white, you know, black, you name it, Asian. Letters was just coming in for me, saying, well, listen, we think he's supposed to be released. We think you should let him go. So it was because of these things and my choice of realizing that I have to change. What Mr. Caswell was talking about is the New York State prison system is some of the worst prisons I believe on this planet. Every day somebody's getting killed. Every day somebody's getting crippled, losing an eye, losing a lung. I mean, this has happened on the regular. Police is hanging people. You know, these things goes on. But you as an individual, you have to make that choice. And one of our mottos in the youth program was, what are the consequences? What's at stake? No matter what, the choice is yours. And we always drill that into the heads of the youths, and drill that into my head too. You know, whatever you do, there's consequences.
So you had a well thought out program that you were involved in, and you believe that program and an understanding of yourself really caused that change to happen. Can you talk about the conditions in the prison? You would have heard Mr. Franklin talking about the conditions in the prisons here in Barbados and what they should be based on the rules and the laws, not the rules, but the laws. How do you compare in terms of prison conditions? Yeah. Okay, start again, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying the prison conditions here, from what I see, the prison conditions in America, is pretty similar. Pretty similar. But I would say that American prisons are more violent than the prison here. What actually changed a lot of things in the prisons in America was a riot that took place in 1971 in a prison called Attica. And the prisoners, some prisoners was killed, some officers was killed, and that changed the system. That changed how they do things. They realized that, some of the demands of the prisoners at the time was that we need, more programs, we need education, we need better medical conditions, all these things that they rioted for. And that changed the entire prison system, not only in New York State, but in America. So I would say that Mr. Caswell can do all that he can as a citizen to try to highlight what is taking place in the prison. But, God helps those who help themselves. Sometimes the prisoners themselves have to get the information, get the message out to the people that this is what we're going now. This is what's happening. This is what we're going through. A lot of times I see prisoners even come back to the streets and they don't say anything really about what's taking place in there. So we need the prisoners themselves to become more proactive and to let their voices themselves be heard. First of all, they got a lot of strikes against them. The society itself is against them. So, their voices have to be real loud. The oppression that's taking place as the economy worsens in society, it would get worse for those in prison. So as we going through what we're going through out here with the high taxes and certain things, believe you me, it is manifested itself in the prison tenfold.
Because only because of time. I mean, this is so interesting. I would love for us to have a follow up with you on this topic here, but I want to know. Somebody, Hurricane Writer, was saying that, okay, so what can we do? Hearing what is happening in the prison in Barbados here. Yes, we had the prisoners. Um, they rioted in Attica there in New York, and they saw changes. I mean, obviously we don't want any riots to happen, but the big question is what can be done. I want to single out Noel, who is on the live tonight, and Noel heard about what's happening in the prisons in Barbados, and Noel has already contacted Amnesty International, and Noel has written to Amnesty International. Hurricane Writer, I was saying that you can write to Amnesty International as well. Anybody here can look for the email address and write. And we made that, we had about 1,400 people on here, and we said that go ahead and write to Amnesty International, and one person did. Right, and I know there's another one who research, and they're planning to do a big report to Amnesty International. But if everybody bombards, and write the emails, they might just listen. But apart from that, Lumumba, what can we do? We're talking tonight, about everything. What are some solutions that you see?
think we have to get to the prisoners themselves. I don't know how they get their visits, but a lot of families, I would say to the families, listen, I know you may be angry that they what they did or whatever, but it's still your family. It's still somebody that's coming out to you. It's still somebody that's coming back into our community. So we should have an interest. So I think a lot of times people don't stay in contact enough with their loved ones. That's number one. Um, we need the churches themselves have to start speaking out on these things because it's a moral issue. They have to start speaking out on these things. The church is in prison. Maybe I don't know if they allow the well, yeah, call you a taxpayer in America. They allow once a month you will see people from the community that the prison is in walking through, getting a guided tour of the prison. They want to see what the prisoners are doing, stuff like that. I think that as taxpayers in Barbados, you should be able to say, well, listen, we would like to go to the prison and see what is going on in there because those people are coming back into our communities and we don't want damaged goods coming back into our community. We want to know what is taking place. So maybe even regular citizens like yourself, Marcia, and could request to go and see you for yourself what is taking place.
Excuse me. Yes, I remember being in Jamaica and going to the women's prison, to see what was happening there and talking to the women there in prison. And I believe that when I just came here, we also went to the prison here. But it's something, as you're saying, especially with what's going on now, that we should really try to do a current. I'm going to follow up on that, and I'm sure everybody on here, they have ideas on what can be done. I'm one person is saying, one of the things that we can do is to try to get a different minister, get rid of that minister. And the question was asked, how can that be done? So just think about that, guys. Think about solutions and what we can do. I myself am going to try. I don't know if they will let me go in, knowing who I am, but we could go, go with Lumumba or something, to go into the prison, go with probably there's a church group that's going, and we could all go together to see what is actually happening there. But Lumumba, thank you so much. But you said something, and somebody's asking the question. You said At first, you said that the prison Barbados is like 15 years behind the prison in New York, but then you said that it was similar. And so the person wrote, so yes, he said, I thought our prison was 15 years behind. But then you said it was similar. Can you clarify that for us? Yes,
I said that. Could you hear me?
I'm here. We're hearing you now.
When I said I'm talking about as far as programs they have in the prison in New York State, they have every kind of program. You could learn how to computers. You could learn plumbing. You could learn electrician. You could learn these are the things that's in the prisons that if you want to is there at your access that you could have. Prisons here don't have that. So that's why I said that there are even contact visits. They don't have any contact visits with your family. You talking to your family on a phone behind a plexiglass. That's, usually in New York State, when that happens is because they found you with drugs or you had a fight in the prison and you caused disruption. They even bring the prisoners down here on the visit with handcuffs on. That is barbaric. And they don't let them to see, they're not allowed to see their children. You're allowed to see your children in New York State. So when I said that, but what I was saying, the similarities is the oppression. The oppression is similar. You're still seeing the prisoners getting killed. They get killed in New York State. They're getting killed here in Dodge. So that's what I meant when I say it's similar.
Thank you so much, Lumumba, and I'm going to take you up on that in trying to get into the prison to see what it's like. We're gonna work on that. Mr. Franklin, just before he goes, a short comment because I have a friend here from Guyana who's going to talk to us about this cybercrime bill in Guyana, and I see Kimar is also in the studio.
I was just going to tell you, if you want to get into prison, wait till the cybercrime bill is passed and make a comment about me, you'll get in there.
Listen, it's not going to pass. It's not going to pass. I'm not going to any prison. But thank you so much, Lumumba, for joining us tonight. And I'm going to call you again to pick your brain. Okay? Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you. Well, as you segue into the cybercrime bill, I see Kimar is there. Let me bring him in. He might want to join in this session. But let me go straight to Mr. Reverend Nigel. And I don't give him a Reverend. I'm forgetting your last name now. But welcome. Excuse me. Welcome to the program tonight. And I reached out to you because I saw an article where a Guyanese who is a blogger, just like myself, a talk show host, of his program on YouTube, and he's an executive of a political party there, and an opposition political party, and he was arrested under the cybercrime bill on Tuesday. And so I reached out to you, Reverend London, it came back, and asked if you could come on and just talk to us about the cybercrime bill in Guyana, and just the how is that affected how you do your presentations. You do a lot on Facebook, etc. Can you talk to us about what has happened to that young man? Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much and welcome. I must say thanks for the welcome. I appreciate it. And to those who are here with me as well, your viewers and those who are listening, I'm certainly grateful for the opportunity to share with you all that.
Hello?
Someone's trying to call me, so I'm not sure whether you're going to hear me.
Okay. So
are you still able to hear me?
Yes, we're hearing now. You got blocked out earlier. Back. Yeah. We're hearing you now.
At first I thought it was Jaguar.
he's going to come back. In the meantime, good night, Kimar. We missed you. How are you doing?
Good night, Marcia. Good night, Caswell.
Good night,
Good night,
Kimar. Good to see
good
you.
night, Murray. And good night to all of the members, the loyal opposition. I missed you. And I'm glad to be here, as always.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, good to see you. Good to see you. We're always happy to see you. I'm sure you. Okay, Mr. Nigel is back, but I thought that this would be quite interesting for you to hear as well. Let me get him back in, and then we're gonna chat tonight. Kimar, give us a moment. I guess
Thank you.
Reverend. Yes, you're back. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Yes, let's hope it works now. Yes, go right ahead, Reverend Landon. He's having trouble. His internet his internet is giving trouble. Oh wow. Yeah. Okay. So Kimar, while we wait on him to come back in, I mean, you're hearing what's happening there in Guyana with their cybercrime bill, where this particular person was arrested, but he's not just a particular person. He is someone in the opposition. He's an executive in the opposition party, one of the opposition parties there, and he's also, a talk show host, and he was criticizing the president of the country. Kimar, any thoughts on that while we wait on him to come?
Yeah, well, usually when you hear this type of laws being enacted, they're usually in countries like Russia. I know for a fact that the opposition leader of Russia was jailed, and in more socialist type countries that practice dictatorships, these things happen. But in the Caribbean, these are foreign and alien behaviors to our culture.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I assume that free speech within boundaries, and for an elected person to be put on a witch hunt, this is a precedent that is going to be set for Barbados and any other country that implements the cybercrime bill, because I believe that Barbados has parliamentary privilege in terms of free speech, and that all parliaments should have that. So I'm guessing the guest tonight would explain to us if his parliament has uh, parliamentary privilege for parliamentarians, and if the cybercrime bill would violate or has violated those privileges, which led to an abuse of state power and to target legislators and shut down free speech.
Yes, thank you.
Hope I'm
Good
back.
questions. Good questions for you, Nigel. But now, before you answer that, can you start at the beginning for us and explain to us exactly what has happened and tell us about that bill and the institution of that bill, and then you can answer some of Kimar's question. Go
Thank
ahead. Let's
you.
see.
I say thanks for having me here. Hopefully the broadcast will not be interrupted on my end. But I was sharing with you that here in Guyana, we've gone beyond the bill. According to law, we now have an act. Now, when this was in the phase of the bill, there was a different administration called the APNU AFC, a Partnership for National Unity, and the Alliance for Change Coalition, and they were governing the country at the time, or what you call an administration. They're the ones who would have presented or framed this bill. The issue that I had then, years ago, and I shared with I was public, many of us as Guyanese would have spoken out as you were doing, I would presume, to say this bill, it wasn't ascended into law yet, it's very dangerous, because within the bill, for one, it spoke to a very important aspect of society that I consider to be, among other people, very, very, very threatening to us, in that you are not allowed, according to law in Guyana, to encourage anyone to feel ill will or speak ill about the government. So I asked the Minister of Legal Affairs then, or Home Affairs, I should say, are we in North Korea? this is supposed to be a Caribbean country that's free. How can you say to me that I should not, according to law, allow anyone to dislike the government of the day or say things that will cause me to dislike the government? And that in itself was treacherous and still remains that way. It's in law in Guyana. Additionally, though, we all felt, and I felt then that this is a direct attack on the freedom of speech of every Guyanese at every level. It doesn't matter whether you're parliamentarian or whatever. It was just a direct attack on the freedom to express oneself, because the uniqueness of this bill, or the essence of what is called Cybercrime Act now in Guyana, is that it hinges on how someone feels about what I may have said or posted or anything on social media. So can you imagine living a life whereby someone else's feelings is what is most important in reference to your existence as an individual? Therefore, according to the Cybercrime Act of Guyana, if I type, which would be libel, or I say something which would be deemed slanderous or affects another human being, and they say, I feel emotionally hurt, is the term they use here in Guyana, they have right to go to the police and report that I hurt their feelings based on what I've said. And the police are encouraged to come to make an arrest because I hurt someone else's feelings. That is how weak this bill is and how dangerous it has become. Now, in reference to the usage of it for political gain or mileage or destruction, I should say, it has become a weapon in the hand of because it was a change in government in 2020, and the People's Progressive Party has mastered using this bill to harm, to threaten, to a great extent, terrorize those who they deem to be their opponents. And there's a case, as I speak to you now, where a young man is in the lockups. He's in a cell because he simply opened, as you're doing it, you have a program here, and you may say, well, we opened the line for people to call in. Someone called into that program to say, well, the 4 men in Guyana who are threats or bad for the nation, Irfan Ali, who's the president, Barra Jagdeo, Anil Nandalal, who was the Minister of Legal Affairs, or Attorney General, and Ashni Singh, who's supposed to be our finance minister. And the person said their head should be cut off and maybe put around the city, then Guyana be a better place. The host of the show said absolutely nothing. He said nothing. He simply opened the line and that was somebody said. 2 months later, he's now under arrest in a cell because they said he allowed someone to say that. That's what because he's an enemy of the state, essentially, of the administration. That's what we faced with. So in reference to the question about the political environment now, the political environment in our nation in reference to the Cybercrime Act is very, very unique in that in the House of Assembly, you're allowed to say just about anything. When in Parliament, you can do whatever you want. Somebody they say some of the most atrocious things that you may see in many nations of the world. And in that sphere, in that environment, the Speaker of the House controls or has some degree to penalize the Member of Parliament and say, well, you've overstepped and you can be sanctioned. You may lose the right to attend Parliament for 6 months. You may lose your parliamentary wage or pay. That's it. But they're not necessarily allowed to go beyond that House to challenge anyone in the court to say, well, you said something to me that was dangerous or harmful. However, beyond that, when it goes beyond that, the Cybercrime Act can be enforced or utilized to the detriment of one who may be deemed an enemy. However, it has not found its way into the circle of opposition members and members of the cabinet. It wouldn't, because generally speaking, politicians are united against the people. That's normally how they function. Mm-hmm. So they're normally friends. They would appear to be in the House Assembly enemies and say many things just to maintain their political positions. However, they're friends because they say many things about each other, and then when you go around the corner, you see them sitting at a bar somewhere drinking together. Or if you're close enough, then you may hear them on the phone talking to each other, so they're normal friends. And they come to the House Assembly and they say, well, I really did you rough today, and they laugh it off. And people outside think they were so much arch enemies. But it's the game they play. So it's not used in reference to that. People like me, who they deem to be a social activist or whatever they call me, and others, as long as you say things they don't like, or you may say something that hurts one of them in reference to their public image. They have, the politicians now have the ability to say, well, you said something that hurt me. As one minister in our government would have said, somebody hurt his feelings. Imagine leading a country and a Guyanese says something to you and you deem it to be hurtful as a man, then you approach a court or the police and say, well, somebody hurt my feelings. He says something I don't like. And here the person gets arrested, brought to the court, and they can be charged or tried for cyberbullying. It is that serious, and hopefully you can tolerate me a little longer, because I want you to have a very clear understanding in Barbados what you're playing with, or what you're dealing with, or what you're about to face.
Yes. Well, yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Thank you. This is really very, very subjective, and the greatest threat it faces is that the one who is accused of the act has no power to essentially say that, well, how can I know that would have hurt you if I said what I said? If I said to you, Marcia, I think that your eyes are big, I said how I feel, which is within the confines of my human right. According to the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, I have a right to tell how I feel. I don't have a right to defame you. And that's another argument that we presented here in Guyana, and I would have, among others, said, we have to make this clear. Is there a law in Barbados or Guyana that is enacted to prevent one from defaming the other? The answer is yes. So we have anti-defamation laws. You're not allowed to defame anybody. That's a law. You're not allowed to slander someone, which would be what I say. You're not allowed to make libelous statements, which is what you write. You're not allowed to do that. So the argument from us, from me and others would have been, and those who were against the bill at the time was, why do you have the bill then? If you already have laws in the books that prevent me from defaming a person, what is the purpose of this bill? And then, of course, there was no sensible answer. But when we peeped, or when we peered deeply into the bill, I came upon a statement that the Minister of Home Affairs could not address honestly, which is in our bill, it states, or in our act now it states, that you are not allowed to say things that would encourage other Guyanese to have ill feelings towards the government. That is the most destructive aspect of this bill, if you ask me. And it exists in Guyana, in South America. That is trouble. I don't know whether the bill in Barbados has that in it, but we have that now in law. They do not invoke that, because we would have called them out and said, oh, you're becoming dictatorial in its nature. So they had to step back on that one. But it's in the books. The persons who've been using it, the bill or the act here, to really make a mockery of people's lives here in our country. Because as I said to you, if I said to you, I think that your eyes are big, you can go to the police and complain that I hurt your feelings, and here I'm arrested because I hurt you.
Well, you know, I'm so glad that you're on tonight. You know, Mr. London, I'm glad that you're on, because your bill or your act was used as an example here in Barbados. So they're getting ready they want to pass it in 2 weeks. And we have a march that is scheduled for Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. And I want Barbadians, over 1,100 of you watching tonight, to hear what Mr. Landon is saying, that only Tuesday somebody was locked up because something was said that hurt somebody's feelings, another political, it was a political thing. So this is I want us to really hear what he's saying, and see the importance of this march on Saturday morning. You cannot sit down, because I'm telling you, people like me will not be trying to say, well, I want to see what the jail looks like. I'll be in prison. I'm serious. I may hear from Kimar. Kimar, you've heard Mr. London. What do you want to say to him? Any contributions on this? Let's have a discussion about it.
Yes. Well, first, I'd like to offer him, full support on his fight against dictatorship. But we ought to study the linkages and the commonalities between cybercrime bills. We discussed on the show the relationship Barbados has with Guyana, right? At that, we how the two governments that are currently in, how they work together. But it's a case where Mr. London is warning us early that if you put this thing in place, a similar fate as what Guyanese are facing now, Barbadians will have to face. Like, and although Guyana has a functioning uh, and a much larger opposition in terms of how their political system is structured, you see that when one government puts it in place,
Mm-hmm.
right, another government down the road could come and take it up. And I think that point was made at Independence Square by one of the presenters,
Mm.
that a government down the road can misuse this type of legislation to target innocent people, right? And what is most interesting about what Mr. London said also is that uh, he said that it was the most dangerous part of the bill where if you invoke people to, there's not his words, but just me, just but to invoke criticism on somebody or so.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, a lot of that happens right now, but when you expose the truth as what has been happening on the show, you invoke people to criticize uh, public officers, politicians, uh, people who do corrupt public servants. That happens all of the time. So how are you going to be able to say or put a guard against the government misusing and abusing powers when Mr. London could be sitting on the show explaining to us Barbadians earlier that in his country, the state abused their power and he was a victim. Right? So we've warned people, Caswell have warned people, Marcia, you've warned people. We went and presented to the Joint Select Committee and put our concerns out there. But we can only do so much. The people have to wake up and help to protest it, help to back on it, right? Support to people who have already been victimized, continue to support them and lift them up for those acts of bravery, right? Going against the norm, because even coming here, speaking out is a risk because, you know, we know how these people patrol the internet looking for anything you say to twist it and turn it and bring legal action.
Yes. Yeah. Let me ask Mr. London a question here before I go to anybody else on the panel. Mr. London, is this the first that a person who was arrested under the Cybercrime Act in Guyana?
No, it's not. It is since the what you call the PPP, the People's Progressive Party, the party that is very close to your Prime Minister Maya Motley, herself and the President of Guyana are very, very close friends, according to what they've both said. And so ever since the current administration would have come into office in 2020, August, they've utilized this act, or this Cybercrime Act, to what I deem to be political perfection. Many persons have been dragged before the court. Many persons have been arrested. It is a norm. The last young man here on Tuesday, KIDACKIE, Amsterdam, he is still under arrest. He's not been charged, by the way, and they're exercising potentially the 72-hour window they have before they charge anybody. So imagine someone may have said something that somebody doesn't like. In his case, he didn't say anything. He simply opened a telephone line. It was a call-in program. He opened the line for people to call. Someone called in to say that they should execute or potentially have the heads of the president and somebody else through the city. And the police did not trace the call. They didn't go to the telecommunication company to say, we want to have a record of this call so we can find the individual who called to say you should kill the president and other people. They arrested the host of the show. That is how dangerous this bill is, because it's saying that the one who hosts the show is the problem. And so they have done this ad nauseum. It has been done extensively. And I would like to also interject very, very, very importantly here. I said it way back then, and others in 2019 thereabout or before, that I noticed what this bill is about. And I could tell you, it mainly focuses on the LGBTQRST, Alpha, Gamma, whatever they call themselves. I call them the alphabet gang. Because with this bill, if I say anything publicly that hurts a homosexual's feelings, then they have the right to go to the court. That's what this is coming down to. Because this bill has found its way in so many nations to protect the interests of the homosexuals. And there's a book called After the Ball, written by two homosexuals, Marshall Kirk and Erassi Spill. That's their pseudonym. And those in that book, it spoke to how you can deal with people who are against this agenda. And this is one of the ways to do it, where you couple now, oh, you're not supposed to say bad things about people in general, but then behind it all is the protection of a community of people. So you're not allowed to criticize anybody's lifestyle now, because if you hurt their feelings, you go to the court. That's what this bill is all about.
Wow.
You can make no social media posts. You can say nothing public because it's cyber, of course. So on in the cyber world, you can say nothing to hurt anybody's feelings. You, as the individual, must always be so guarded that if you say something, you may hurt somebody, and you get arrested for that.
Yeah. Oh boy, thank you for saying that. Thank you. As somebody said, what you're saying is what we've been saying to the people in Barbados ever since this bill was introduced, and we're having this march on Saturday. Let me see how many of us are going to come out, because Mr. Franklin, the feeling is that they think that it's not going to affect them. And we're hearing, listen, Barbados, Guyana is telling us what is happening in Guyana right now. Mr. Franklin, and then let's go to Mr. Murray. Do you have a question or quick comment to Mr. London?
You know, thank you, Marcia. I'm glad that Mr. London is here, because it makes what we are saying, it put a perspective to it that the Bajans wouldn't have seen or don't understand, because they think, oh, it isn't a big thing, you know, because nobody in Barbados get punished back because it's still a bill. We now have an act in Guyana, and that act in Guyana was done by Mia and her friends. If you see what I mean, Mia's friends. So they are actually doing this to Barbados because it's working out good for the government in Guyana. And so it's working out good. Just remember that the little youngster, the almost senator guy, what's his name? Coffee Water. He said it is to protect the ministers from criticism. They gotta put that in place. So it was said by one of their speakers, people who they trust to speak for them. So they know what they're doing. It's just that Bajans are slow to get to that point. They will get to that point when they see somebody going to jail, especially if somebody that's going to jail that close to them or even them.
Wow. This is serious. I don't know if Barbadians, if this is Mr. Murray, I'm hoping that Barbadians are really coming to grips with the seriousness of this, and that we're not just rebel rousers and ragtag people and all these names that they're calling them, but it is serious against the people of Barbados. Mr. Murray, what do you have to say?
I'm very glad that we've had Mr. London here to give us, so to speak, straight from the horse's mouth of their experiencing it in Guyana. Now, we might have thought of some far-fetched theory and abstract that was not going to happen to us here. But I also remember, and I want to thank you for saying it, during the dialogue at the Joint Committee, some member of the government side, I don't remember which member, bragged that they had checked it, they had gone to Guyana, and they had looked at the Guyana bill, and everything was already a Guyana bill. So they use it as a template for us. And that makes me further convinced that the elite, this new elite that we have in Barbados, are doing everything to consolidate themselves and repress criticism. And also, I'm surprised that, well, it should not be, way back in the 70s and 80s when they used to cover CARICOM for The Advocate, Guyana under Forbes Burn was a very repressive place. Very repressive. And I'm shocked that in this day and age, this kind of legislation still exists and being maintained from government for government because they want to retain their control. They themselves are their own financial and political elite, and they want to do that. So it is not far-fetched when one considers the thinking that now pervades the Barbadian society for the people who are in the power and the position of power, financially and politically and otherwise. We have to therefore accelerate ourselves to get. I think we should get some further details of this and put it into the public's mind that we are not speculating. I've never been a conspiracy theorist, but I also know I also am a realist, and I know there are no such thing as coincidences. Something is always connected to something, especially in a political environment. So don't fool yourself that is any coincidence. They themselves, like I said, bragged and boasted that they had looked at Guyana and incorporated Guyana, copied Guyana, and now we know what Guyana can do, not the black belly sheep, but what Guyana can do to the cybercrime bill to destroy the Barbadian society.
Yeah. You know, someone even said it. Two person says, who is to say, Mr. London, that the government did not set up someone to call into the program,
Right.
to catch,
Correct.
For this to occur? Because remember, this young man is also one of the leaders of one of the parties that's in opposition. So it would be like, say, someone from Lynette's party, or somebody from the DLP, or somebody from some other party in Barbados that's not in power. I want people to understand what occurred.
Right.
And so it could have been, it could be somebody set up to call me on the show, and then here I am, in jail, and it's real. People are saying that we're feeling that we're making up things, Mr. London, but it's real. Yes.
And that would have been the feeling, and unfortunately so, of many across the nation here when it was in the phase of being a bill. It was being discussed and debated in Parliament, and many people didn't see it as a big issue, because for them, they said, what's the big deal? You should not be speaking ill against anybody on social media and so on. Now, our argument, and my argument, because it was very public with this, was that we're in a society whereby disagreement seems to be illegal. That's essentially it. And more so, if I express myself in a manner that hurts another person, what makes that a criminal act? And we have to be very careful when we, as a people, begin to process that. When something becomes an act, we are immune to the effects of it. Barbados, you're not immune to anything, because at the end of the day, may I inform you that if you're going to take the mirror from, or an image or an idea from Guyana, even if you are not in Barbados, so someone can be calling you from the USA, someone can be making a statement because it's a cyber crime act. So there's no border, and this also became an issue in Guyana, because somebody could be anywhere in the world, and they say you may post something on Facebook or Instagram or some other media platform. They make a comment on your post that hurts somebody else's feelings. You are now arrested because it came from your generating a post that would have caused another person to react, thereby hurting party C's feelings. And then that party can go to the police and you are arrested. When you may not even know who the person is that made the comment. You may not even know why they made a comment on your post, or whether it was a person who was just set up to set you up. Okay? And that is so dangerous, because with this cybercrime bill, if it mirrors that of Guyana, there is no border in cybercrime. So is this not going? Do not believe that this is about Barbados here. There's no border. I could be in Guyana and say something to you in Barbados or on your page when you make a post, and that can be used against you because you generated the post. And this has a lot to do with what I say to you again. Please hear me if you haven't heard anything else. There was one aspect of the bill that exposed the government at that time and exposes this one here, where they said that if you say anything that encourages people to have dislike for the government, that's illegal. Pay attention to it because it's very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
Very dangerous.
Wow. You know, Kimar, I'm sitting here and I'm saying this is it here. The people who say that we are just making noise and we are trying to lose weight and we're just causing disruption in the country. I'm thinking about all of that now. And Kimar, I'm thinking about the fact that we're told that by, is it June 14th is when they're going to make decisions about this cybercrime bill. What's going through your mind now, Kimar?
Right, I am just getting some flashbacks about how this bill came about in the first place. We were sitting by that Tuesday looking for the government to pull back from the digital IDs, and while the minister was speaking about pulling back the digital ID and giving the good news, that was not the bill on the floor of Parliament. It was actually the cybercrime bill that was on the floor. So they were going to pass this the same day, same time, without any discussion, right? In the dark, and you didn't know until the police come knocking at your door saying that you put a post causing distress to the government, right? So the deceptive way in which they attempted to do it should have been the first sign of alarm. And now you can see clearly that they're copying it from the Guyanese legislation. And Marcia, I fear for such a tool of power in the hands of people who, even without a cybercrime bill, try to target and shut us down.
Yes. Yes, it is. It is scary. It is scary. And to think that somebody could actually also set you up, you know what I mean, Kimar? Somebody could set you up. This is very, very dangerous. And for me, this should be the hill, Kimar, that every Barbadian said, no, this is the hill we're going to die on. That this is not going to happen. If this government does that, they can understand that's the end of it. They need to know that that's it for us. I feel that if they go ahead and pass that bill in such a way that it still infringes on our human rights and constitutional rights, this country needs to be shut down. And there again, that could land me, Mr. Franklin, in jail, but the country needs to shut down. Something needs to happen. We cannot sit down and allow this to happen. And that's why the march is being planned. It's not because we have nothing else to do. We are thinking about your children too. You understand? So here is this wonderful young man. That's him there with the handcuff on his hand there on the right side of the picture. That's him there on the right hand side with the handcuff. He is one of the leaders of his political party. Look at it for yourself. This is real. Mr. Franklin, any thoughts before? Yeah.
I'm seeing you, Marcia, on that picture.
So why not you? How come you not?
No, I will be on a stretcher. I'm not going willingly.
Yeah,
because this is the height of madness. This is Russia, North Korea. This is not what we are used to. This is not what we are accustomed to. But you see who the government is associating with. They're going to get their lessons from the Communist Party in China, and then they want to come here and implement them. Because some of the most repressive. Next thing we will have Kim Jong-un here, and teaching us how to. Because I'll give an example. Some police complaining to me on that. They were having estimates in the Water Authority building. People had to go there hour or so before, 3 hours before, and do a sweep of the building. Because of some imagined threats that Mia might be getting or having, or she might think can happen to her. The estimates and people hold the estimates in Bart building the year before and all kind of stuff. All of a sudden, she goes over, see how it's done, and come back and want to implement this foolishness around here. I got people vexed because this is not the Barbados that we have experienced. I remember seeing Arabara shopping. Yeah. I've seen Tom Adams with John Williams and Tyrone Barker shopping in the market, buying from the same people I was buying from. And all of a sudden, we want people here now. That's kind of foolishness that they see happening overseas, and they want to import it. And this is just, isn't like monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is what our
Yeah,
government is, a
actually,
monkey government.
in Canada, Mr. Franklin, they have. I'm talking to an activist in Canada. We're going to try to get him on the show, but they are dealing with a similar situation now. Let me just ask.
Glenn is waving his hand.
Yes, I saw his hand there. I saw his hand there. I want to also release Mr. Reverend
Yeah.
London. Just a quick comment, Mr. Murray. A quick comment.
Yes, I am saying that given this visual information that you presented in that video of the young man in handcuffs, etc., I think, and given that it's become a great reality to us, I think we should find a way of using those videos with the right permission to draw it to the Barbadians and that it is real. It is not just talking airy fairy stories, but it happened next door. And if it happened there, it can happen here. I think if you can circulate that online, I think we have to heighten the Barbadians' public awareness of the possibilities and the likelihood of it happening in Barbados in time for the march on Saturday.
Yes, very good suggestion, Mr. Murray. Mr. London, before you go, any comments there that you want to share with your final comments you want to share with Barbados? I know we're going to stay in touch because we're going to follow the journey of this man. So any comments you want to share with us before you go, sir?
Most definitely. I must first of all compliment those of you who were courageous enough, as we would have been here, to stand against this and to speak about it. It doesn't mean you would have failed if it becomes an act. At least, what in my view, would have been on record as to being willing to warn the people of Barbados, warn those who are at home and abroad about the dangers of this bill becoming an act, and also to be willing, some of you maybe, to be like Kidackie, arrested for standing. And like me, I don't have an issue if anybody arrests me. I normally tell the police in this country, you're free to come to arrest me, because I'm not going to subject myself to anything whereby I cannot speak freely. I don't defame people. I do not say anything that's untrue. However, but I'm not going to subject myself in a whereby at an environment whereby if I say something, a member of parliament feeling gets hurt, he can tell the police come to arrest me. I'm not going to be afraid of that. So this is a time whereby courage becomes very essential to people. And in reference to this young man you're seeing here, Kidackie, Amsterdam, a Guyanese, what makes this 10 times worse is that 2 months ago, not 2 days ago, not 2 hours ago, he's under arrest for something that was said 2 months ago. He didn't say it. Somebody called into a program and said it. And 2 months have passed, and now they saw the need to arrest him. And so that is what the bill in Barbados may look like, whereby you could say something could be said 3 months ago, and you think it's over. And then somebody says, well, I just thought today that it hurt my feelings, and you're arrested for it. It is not to be taken lightly. And I think that the dangers you face in Barbados is where the bill is so extreme. It is so, to some extent, unimaginable in its nature that people think it's just a joke. It's not. They're not serious because it's so bad. It's so poor a bill that in reference to our case, the law, we believe that this thing is just a joke. It would not be, when we read it, person said this is just a gimmick. It cannot be so serious. And they wouldn't use it against Guyanese like that. They'll only use it in extreme circumstances. Well, they've lived to see. They've lived to see within the first year of the PPP taking office, they began to execute this to perfection against those who they say are against them. And so don't think this won't come your way. My additional point is that if we're not careful as a people, we believe that if we do not say something that's bad, then the bill is okay. And that's where it becomes even more troubling. Because the people who are quiet, and they say, well, I don't say bad things to people, so it doesn't affect me. However, I must share this with you. If you have the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, among the first key of them speaks to the right to speak, freedom of speech. Within our Constitution, we have the freedom of speech. That's Article 149, I think it is, of our Constitution. You have the right to speak freely. If there's any bill that seeks to challenge that right of yours as a Barbadian, you should, as many of you as possible, arise to challenge it constitutionally. There should be no law that overarches or overrides your right to speak freely. It is a fundamental human right that you have. And what I've discovered is that in our society here, there is a group that I call wannabe elitists, which would be the political party that heads the country now. They want to create this dominant society whereby you can't say anything against them. You must always be applauding them and say, yes, you're good, like in North Korea. And if ever you say anything that is against them, they have means, as you saw in this last case here. They have strategies in place where they can even cause someone to say, call him, or type something on his social media page to a post he would have made, and use somebody's name from within the party, or anybody's name. That person's then encouraged to go to the police, and you're arrested your whole life. Becomes very, very problematic. Finally, I say to you that we have a member of parliament here whose name is Nigel Darmlad, who was accused of raping and sodomizing a 16-year-old girl. She made a complaint. She was interviewed in a forensic environment, and that man was never arrested for even 5 minutes. So if you see the image on your screen of KIDACKIE Amsterdam, who's arrested tonight and in prison, in the cell in jail, a minister in this government who was accused of raping a 16-year-old girl was never arrested. He was accused of raping another woman. He was not arrested. In both instances, he was given bail, station bail. He didn't even appear before court. Now, with this cybercrime bill, KIDACKIE Amsterdam is in handcuffs and he has no bail. Can you think about that, Barbados? Where it seems as if hurting people's feelings is far more important than raping a little 16-year-old girl, in reference to the accusation. When the law in Guyana states, according to the Sexual Offences Act, that if someone comes forward to report you rape them, you must be arrested, not should be. That member of parliament was not arrested. He's also protected by the bill. So if I say tonight, I'm just saying, he's a rapist, in my view, he can say I hurt his feelings. And I'm arrested. He was never arrested. And I could be in handcuffs here for 72 hours in a cell.
Wasn't one of those assaults on one of the young ladies videotape?
No, it wasn't videotape.
No, I saw one where this little girl, born minister, Guyana, it was circulated even here.
It was not that was not the minister. It was not the person. It was said it was not him. That was another man who was assaulting a young girl, and it was not the minister. But in our law, in reference to Sexual Offences Act, even if someone just complains that you did it to them, especially a minor, you have to be arrested. There's no should in that equation. He was never arrested. This young man, 2 months after somebody said on his show that what should happen to the president and everything else, he's arrested. He's in handcuffs, and he has no bail at this time.
It is not even a question of freedom of speech, because he didn't speak.
He didn't speak. Exactly my point. He didn't even speak. So the bill is saying, according to this bill, if you cause someone to say, and I hope nobody in Barbados misses that point. It is not what you say. If you create a platform where other people may say something, you're arrested. You before the court, you charge, and possibly if you're political adversary, you can go to jail.
Wow, as is happening with this young man.
As is happening with this young man.
Yes. Oh my Lord, I tell you, this is very very, very serious. And oh boy, I wanna thank you so much, Mr. London, for coming on. And this is where I say, gentlemen, and those are watching, I guess might have to. Well, it hasn't passed, and they will lock me up for this. I don't know, but this is one time I believe that Barbadians, Mr. Murray, you're 80 years old, and I'm saying that Barbadians need to make a serious stance. World Cup is going on. We need the Prime Minister to understand that if they go ahead and pass this bill in the present form that it is, that there's a big chance that something major might happen in this country to embarrass you in the middle of this World Cup. Go ahead and take that to mean whatever. I'm not telling anybody I didn't tell anybody to take up arms or anything like that, and that's not what I'm talking about. I am saying to you, Madam Prime Minister, and those who are listening, you can take it back. They need to understand that we're not going to just sit by and allow you, right? In the middle of World Cup, they said what? What's the date? Is it the 14th of June? The 14th of June? Listen, we will protest, and we don't have to pick up arms. We don't have to be violent about it, because we're not violent people. We're not doing anything like that. But we need something to happen in this country for the Prime Minister to understand. The Prime Minister and the government to understand that we're not going to sit down and just take anything that you throw at us. And this is a time everybody wants to be, we're to come out Flag Day, and we're to behave as nice Barbadians, like put on your best dress and the best behavior and so on, but we're saying we will not be enslaved again, Madam Prime Minister and government. We're not going to be enslaved again, So Mr. London, I say London, but it's Lon, London, thank you for, as Tyrone said, for keeping Bajans informed and your activism. Thank you so very much for coming on. I shall be reaching out to you again to find out what is happening. God bless you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and I'm certainly grateful. Thank you. I'm grateful.
Yes, God bless. Thanks.
Marcia, we have only 359 likes so far, and we have over 1,100 people on things. So a couple more likes will make me feel very happy tonight.
Yes. Before we go off, we're gonna take another couple minutes, because Kimar, came on, and then because Mr. London was here, although we were all discussing, I don't know what else is on his mind, but this is Kimar. Oh my Lord! Give the likes, people. Like up the show so that others can see it. Now, like up the show so that others can see it. Right? And but Kimar, oh Lord, I am stunned. I'm here stunned. I'm saying, Lord of mercy. I guess I this is where I'm going to make my prison debut, Kimar.
Yeah. Well, I know in the midst of these things we get flustered, we get confused, we get afraid. um, but we just have to offer a message of hope, not like the whole project.
Oh, I was just going to correct you there.
Right. Right. Not like the whole project or any of the other letdowns we had, but I mean, it is a message. We're offering a message to the people to take care of yourselves. Yeah, this is a long journey, so you have to keep solid and fortified. Um, you have to keep focus on these issues and not be distracted. Remember in the times in the Roman Colosseum, and the Greek lords would send people to watch the circus to distract them from the laws that they were passing. Well, the same thing happens nowadays. Let us not get distracted by World Cup. Let us not get distracted by crop over. Enjoy yourselves, enjoy the festivities, but do not become complacent to believe that the mantra or the agenda has changed to fleece the people of this country of their money, their freedoms, and more importantly, know your voice. Right? So your voice is most important, as was given by the Lord, who then gave you a mother, and through a man and a woman, we all came into being. And that is how you got your mouth to speak, God given, and no man should be able to put a price on your mouth for telling the truth anywhere in the world. And that is all I have to say.
Yeah. Mr. Franklin, we see where we didn't get to touch on it, the surveillance of, our vehicles on the street. We knew that this was going to happen because we started to talk about it on the show here, where they started to put up the cameras. And in COVID, we saw all these structures on our streets, and now there's a surveillance, and it's like really coming in, because all of these things, Mr. Franklin, are connected, because there's a surveillance, there is a telling you what you can say, all kinds of things, the digital ID, it all comes together. Before we close, any quick word you have to say, Mr. Franklin, on this surveillance? We have to pick it up on Friday.
We are creating in Barbados a police state, right? And also one not only to unlock up a lot of people, but they get their hands on money and more money and more money and more money, because a lot of these things are being done so that they can fine you, put money on you. And see, if you look at what we spoke about the last time with the postman going around and checking to see who live in this house, and money again. Everything is about money. You really feel that if you file your income tax late, you should be paying $500. All of this is money. When it was first introduced, the Barbados, the party said it was wrong. Have they come and changed it because it was introduced by Sinclair? It was wrong then. It should be wrong now. That is why I don't have any respect for these people, because they have convenient memories for things that used to be wrong when they were in opposition. But when they come into power, just like in Guyana, the cybercrime bill was wrong for everybody down there too, but they're coming and using it. But that is a normal behavior for politicians. They don't have any respect for themselves, so how do you expect them to have respect for us? What we must do is to hold them to account and take them out by the ballot box.
Yeah, make
or
sure.
by our protests that will force them to give us the opportunity, because they're not going to call an election unless the place becomes ungovernable. And I don't mean ungovernable in terms of rioting or something. You can withdraw your labor.
Exactly.
If you withdraw your labor and the government can't run the place, they're going to find a way to solve it. And one of those ways is to say, well, look, tell the president, well, look, we can't have this thing anymore. Because if you withdraw your labor, you stay at home, you're not writing, so they can't come and arrest you. You're home in your house.
Yeah.
Unless you go on the computer and type something. Go in home and type something on the computer. Remember, cybercrime bill, and they want to pass that. So don't let us get there. Let us stop it, because I do not want to see Marcy in jail.
Yeah.
They give those cloth bloomers are really harsh on people.
Wow. Yes, boy, I tell you. Listen, we want for the month of June, Mr. Murray, for it to be a month of prayer. And while we are doing, we're not just praying, and we're not just doing stuff. It's a combination, Mr. Franklin, that has taken us this far. And so there's a plan afoot to have 30 days of prayer, 1 hour a day. They need at least 50 persons. If you go to the marciaweekshow.com, you'll be able to find the Google form that you can fill in your name and when you want to pray. It's going to start June 1st at 6 o'clock in the evening. And it's going to end at June 30th, the last Friday there, whatever, 6 o'clock that evening. All right. So all that's happening is that you're choosing 1 hour, or that you can pray. You don't have to pray an entire hour, but that is your time that you're going to pray. Right. So yes, we're going to work at it, because we're going up there and we're marching. Those of you, remember, it's nothing here, it's mandatory. If you don't pray, you don't have to join. All right. So don't start in the comment section now. All right. If this is not for you, you cut your eye and pass it. All right. But for those people who want to pray, we are making that available. This is being organized, and I'm helping to promote it. So there is a prayer that is happening in June. We are marching all of the Saturdays in June. We've already requested that for marching. We have our roadside parliament. It's an intense month because this is a month that they're planning to pull this thing out on us. And I'm saying to all 260,000 of us here in Barbados, let us come together. We're going to pray. We're going to protest. And if it comes to it, we shut this country down. And I want you to start thinking that way. Be radical like that about it. We have to do something that is drastic. And as I said, we don't have to take up arms. We don't have to take up a gun, a cutlass, and nothing. It don't have to be violent at all. In fact, it shouldn't be violent at all. Okay? What we're saying is that we've got to make a serious, we need to be very, very serious and very militant about it. Right? So we're out on Saturday. Right? We're out on Saturday. And we are also going to, on Saturday, it's June 1st, 1987 is when Errol Barrow left us. And we're going to be reflecting on him as well on that day, on June 1st, June 1st on Saturday, because he left us on June 1st, 1987. Let me go to Mr. Murray, and that would be Mr. Murray will have the final word tonight because Caswell just spoke. Mr. Murray, your final words tonight.
I feel honored to be able to take the best of the general. Thank you, Marcy, for upgrading. Am I, a brigadier or something?
No, still a corporal.
Jeez, all right. Listen, I just want to say, Marcia, that after listening to Mr. London, as between his analysis of what is happening in Guyana and what is happening, he also speaks of the new elites seeking to consolidate their power and their provision of privilege and whatnot. Right? And I remember I spoke that some weeks ago. Some people, well, we don't leave the BLP alone and leave the Prime Minister. It's not that. It is broader and deeper. As I said, those people, the friends, the family, friends of fornicators have had 6 years almost to get accustomed to build their privilege and enjoy the patches and whatnot. They're not going to give it that easily, believe me. And we have to do what we can to keep our eyes open. And this cybercrime bill is part of that arsenal of weapons they would seek to use us. I grew up, fortunately, in a generation where the mantra was, you can shut the park gate, but you can't shut my mouth. So you can't stop me from talking. I will not lie. I will not exaggerate. I'm so glad that 11 years ago, I decided I've had enough of what I saw was happening within the inner bowels of that organization, which it has no resemblance internally, as to what I was part of for such a long time. It really is a nuisance and a danger to the society if the public allows it to keep on its way uninterrupted.
Yeah. Wow. Well said, Mr. Murray. Well said. Thank you all so much for joining. Thank you, Kimar. Good to see you tonight. Thank you, Mr. Franklin. And thanks to everybody. Thanks to Lumumba, who was on very, very compelling testimonial there. And thanks to Nigel London, who came on here and wake us up, boy. But we sit up, we see that silver bangle on that man's hand, and we say, oh Lord, this thing's serious. So we're coming out on Saturday, protest march and rally, freedom of speech and expression, and there is an Errol Barrow Memorial Walk. We're going to remember and honor him on that day as well. So everybody, you're welcome to come and join the march. Okay, so we see you. Kimar has alternate views tomorrow at 7 o'clock. All right, folks, good night and God bless. Wonderful show. God bless. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Oh, Dave has to play.
Yes.
English. Pretending to be good. Pretending to be good. Just pretending to be good. Pretending to be good. I just pretending to care about people. 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 Pretending. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people.
Promise us a better tomorrow. Tell me that it's suffering done. Me attack the vote and let me down. Me attack the vote and let me down. She did only want little dealing, big contracts and not corruption. Me attack the vote and let me down. Me attack the vote and let me down. Barbados is too small for me. My pocket full, now you and job they promise me. And a girl like me want power and more money. You cry transparency, but that's a no for me. Promise us a better tomorrow. Tell me that it's suffering done. Me attack the vote and let me down. Me attack the vote and let me down. She did only want little dealing, big contracts and not corruption. Me attack the vote and let me down. Me attack the vote and let me down.
All right. Good night, everybody. Good night. Good night. See you on Friday. Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye.